he had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived at his place and found Mr. Tucker tied up to a chair. Mr. Tucker said that he had been sleeping when someone wearing a mask had broken into the room. They took him right out of the bed, tied him up to the chair, and then took all the savings he was keeping in the wardrobe. When they left, he managed to call the police because his cell phone was in his pocket. Still, Detective Callum didn't believe him. Why? Mr. Tucker said that he had been taken right out of bed, but the bed was perfectly made. I doubt that a robber would care enough to make Mr. Tucker's bed on their way out. Detective Callum was spending the winter holidays at a ski resort with his friends. In the morning, they were going to go skiing on the fresh snow that had fallen at night when a local police officer called him and asked him to come to a hotel nearby to solve a case. So, Detective Callum had to go. Someone robbed the cashier's desk and there were 3 suspects. Questley said that she was in her room all night sleeping. Egbert said that he was out partying in a different hotel and had just come back around an hour ago. Fenton said that he had been binge-watching a show all night but hadn't stolen anything. Who is guilty? It was Egbert. If he had just returned, he would have left his footprints on the fresh snow, but there were no footprints leading to the hotel as Detective Callum was walking there. And the name Egbert will make anyone suspicious. There was a car accident in the suburbs, and police arrived to investigate the case. The driver went into a cliff right where the road was taking a dangerous turn. The car turned around, and he was pushed out of it and got stuck nearby. He had his cell phone on him, so he was able to make a call. A police officer helped the driver out and asked him to show what was in the trunk. The driver gladly opened it with his keys. In the trunk, there was his suitcase, some instruments, and a spare tire. The police officer said that the accident had been staged. Why? The driver took the keys out of his pocket. If it had been a real accident, the keys would have remained in the car. Mr. Grayson called the police and said that she had been robbed. Detective Callum arrived for the investigation. Here's what she said.
It was almost midnight. I was in my room upstairs painting. Suddenly, the power went out. There was no light or electricity, and I could only see the streetlights outside. Then, the stationary phone rang. I was scared, so I didn't pick it up. I stayed upstairs, and in about 10 minutes, the light came back. I just went to sleep, and now, in the morning, I found out that someone stole my grandma's diamond ring.
Detective Callum didn't believe her. Why? If the lights and the electricity were out, how would a stationary telephone ring? This lady is making things up. Gavin drove to get some groceries and parked his car in front of the store. Of course, he forgot where he had parked and couldn't find his car. Luckily, he had taken a picture of his parked car and he opened it to look up the number of the parking lot. The problem is that his parking lot number is covered and the number of the lots nearby doesn't make any sense. Can you figure out what's Gavin's parking lot number and where he should search for his car? The numbers are just turned upside down in the photo. The numbers are 86 through 91, and his car is parked in 87. Now I have a short logo quiz for you. I'll show you a logo and you have to tell the company. Here's the first one. Do you recognize it? It's Honda, a Japanese car brand. This one is super easy. What is it? This is Pepsi, of course. What about this cute crocodile? Does it ring a bell? This is Lacoste, a French clothing brand. Another easy one. I bet you have it on your phone. Yes, of course. That's Spotify. What about this one? Yes, it's Nike. This one is a very fancy brand. What's your guess? That's Louis Vuitton. Okay, another one for you. It's harder, but you've got this. What's your call? This is Reebok, an American footwear company.
Are you ready to train your brain with the help of these tricky brain teasers? Then let's get started. Look at these ladies and try to figure out who's not very smart. Even though the first woman looks as if she's about to touch a hot iron, the device is actually unplugged, so she won't hurt herself. The second lady, though, is about to touch a heated waffle maker. Oh no! John's parachute hasn't opened, and he's now plunging toward the ground. Does he have higher chances of survival if he falls into a lake or on a haystack? He should try to fall on a haystack. Do you see crocodiles hiding near the shore of the lake? What do you think is more dangerous in this situation? A bear or a swarm of bees? Look, the bear is about to run after its prey. It won't pay any attention to you. But bees seem to be angry. They'll most likely go after you. Look at these people. Who's most likely to survive? The man hanging over the fire? A woman tied over a barrel filled with toxic liquid? Or this guy swinging over a field of sharp needles? The woman hanging over the barrel with toxic liquid is the one who will survive. Look, there's a hole in the barrel, and the liquid is leaking out of it. The woman just needs to wait until the barrel is empty and untie herself. To get out of the locked room, Jeremy had to crack this puzzle. 1 equals 5, 2 equals 15, 3 equals 215, 4 equals 3215, 4 equals 3215, 5 equals... What number is hidden under the question mark? It's 1. 5 equals 1 because 1 equals 5. But the door of the room still didn't open. Apparently, Jeremy had to solve another riddle. He had to arrange 4 nines in such a way that they were equal to 100. He could use any math symbols. How can the guy do it? Jeremy figured out the correct answer pretty fast. 99 plus 9 divided by 9 equals 100. You're crossing a railroad bridge when you spot a train coming toward you. The bridge is built over a lake swarming with crocodiles, so jumping into the water is out of the question. How can you survive in this situation? You're farther away from the shore you came from and won't have enough time to get back to that side. So your only option is to run toward the train really fast and turn left or right when you cross the bridge. Jack is taking part in a challenge. He's reached the final stage, which takes place in a desert. If he succeeds now, he'll win $1 million. There are 4 pots in front of him. In each of them, there's a key. Jack needs to get any key from any pot. But on top of the first pot, there's a bowl filled with a strong acid. The second pot is covered with a bowl full of venomous spiders. In the bowl placed on the third pot, Jack sees a raging fire. A viper is curled up in the bowl, covering the fourth pot. Jack isn't allowed to drop the bowls or turn them over. Which pot should he choose? The guy should choose the third bowl. He can put the fire out with sand. He's in the desert after all. And get the key. David's company develops apps for smartphones. Right now, he's looking for a designer. He's got hundreds of resumes, but he's chosen just 3 of them. Angela's resume says, "I'm 23 years old, I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm a fast learner and have already designed similar applications." Helen wrote in her resume, "I'm 26 and have 4 years of work experience. You should hire me because I've created lots of TikTok stories that have gone viral." And Eric's resume claims he's 28 years old with 7 years of work experience. He's designed tons of apps and he's been working for Google since the company was launched. David can only hire one person, but it's okay because one applicant hasn't lied in their resume. Who is it? Eric has just 7 years of work experience, but Google was officially launched in 1998. There are no stories on TikTok, meaning Helen couldn't create them. David hired Angela. Even though she hasn't been working for a long time, she's honest and has a nice portfolio. 3 friends agreed to hang out together on Friday night. One of them, Brian, was tasked with bringing pizza. But the guy was running extremely late. His friends were starving. Strangely, Brian wasn't picking up their calls. But in an hour or so, he sent them a selfie. In the photo, he was standing next to his car. In the following message, he wrote he had run out of gas. He was at a gas station, tanking his car up. But his friends didn't believe Brian's excuses. Why? In the picture, it's clearly seen that the guy has got an electric car. It doesn't need gas. Mark told his wife he was going on a business trip to Canada and asked her to pack his bag for him. It was winter, so his wife packed a pair of very warm socks, a scarf, and a knitted hat for Mark. When Mark came back, he said that his business trip was successful. Then he asked his wife why she hadn't put his toothbrush and toothpaste in his suitcase. The woman immediately understood that her husband was lying about going on a business trip. How did she figure it out? She put his toothbrush and toothpaste under the scarf, hat, and warm socks. If he didn't take them out of his bag, it probably wasn't very cold outside, which means that, most likely, he was not in Canada. 1 out of 9 identical balls is heavier than the others. How can you figure out which one it is after just 2 weighings? You need to divide all the balls into 3 groups and weigh 2 of them. That's how you can figure out which group contains the heavy ball. After that, you should pick 2 balls from the heaviest group. Weigh one against the other, and you'll understand which ball of the 3 is the heaviest. There was a blackout in the city, but the bus driver still noticed a dog on the road and managed to stop in time and avoid hitting the animal. How did he do this? This accident happened during the day. You have 6 glasses standing in a row on the table. The first 3 of them are filled with water, and the other 3 are empty. You need to move just 1 glass to arrange them in such a way that full and empty glasses alternate. How can you do it? Just pick up glass number 2 and pour the water into glass number 5. You enter a room and see that there's nothing inside but a blackboard on the wall. There are 4 words written on it: pin, check, boiling, view. You have to figure out a 5-letter word that can be added to each of them to make an existing word or word combination. Have you realized that the necessary word is point? Then you'll get pinpoint, checkpoint, boiling point, and viewpoint. Now, you're in a strange building that looks like a planetarium. There are photos of distant stars on the walls. In the middle, there's a screen with a riddle on it. NEUSRNERRSTH question mark. You have to figure out what is hiding under the question mark. If you've realized that the correct answer is RY, congratulations! The list is made up of the last two letters of the names of the planets of the solar system, in the order from Neptune to Mercury, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury. Two daughters and two mothers went out to a cafe. Each of them ate a slice of pizza, but strangely, only 3 slices were eaten. How come? These ladies are a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. 2 of them are moms, and 2 are daughters.
Danica owns a candy store. She sells candy for $0.12 a dozen. How many candy pieces can you get if you have $1? $0.12 for a dozen mean that one candy costs 1 cent. So if you have $1, you can get 100 candies. For casting a spell, Flora should put these stones in the correct order. She has 4 of them: purple, green, red, and blue. The instruction says: 1. The red one only has 1 stone next to it. 2. The green and purple stones aren't next to each other. 3. The green stone is the last one. Can you help Flora? If the red stone only has 1 other stone next to it, then it's either the first one or the last one. But since green is the last one, then red is the first one. If the green and purple stones aren't next to each other, then there's the blue stone between them. So, the correct order is red, purple, blue, and green. It was midday. Kaylin was exploring a big local forest. She found an abandoned mansion and entered it. The door closed behind her back and wouldn't open.
Oh no!
Kaylin got trapped inside. There were 3 other doors leading to freedom, but there was a catch. Behind the first door, there was a huge pit that would take her miles underground. Behind the second door, there was a magnifying glass that concentrated sunlight and burned everybody and everything that entered. Behind the third door, there was a hungry and dangerous lion that would eat anybody and anything that entered.
Uh-oh.
How can Kaylin escape? Kaylin should wait until sunset. When the sun goes down, the second door with the magnifying glass won't be dangerous anymore. Amelia, Belle, Chloe, and Della are identical quadruplets who always prank people. One day, one of the girls' teachers had to let Amelia leave the class early. She had a doctor's appointment, but the woman wasn't sure which girl was Amelia. The quadruplets had decided to help her. Here is what they said. Amelia is one of the girls standing in the middle. No, Amelia is one of the girls standing on the sides. I'm Amelia. I'm not Amelia. 3 girls lied and 1 told the truth. Who is Amelia? If Amelia is the first girl, then 2 girls told the truth, the second and the fourth ones. If Amelia is the second girl, then the first and the fourth girls told the truth. If Amelia is the third girl, then the first and the third ones told the truth. But if Amelia is the fourth girl, then only the second girl told the truth. So, Amelia must be the fourth girl. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She found a witch's house, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to send her home. The witch wanted to play a game. If Esme won, she'd send her home. But if Esme lost, she'd have to stay with the witch forever.
We'll be saying numbers between 1 and 10.
The next player will have to choose a number that's between 1 to 10 greater than the previous one. The first person to say 50 wins. You can start.
How can Esme win? If she wants to say 50, she needs the witch to say a number between 40 and 49. So, before 50, she has to say 39. If she wants to say 39, the witch has to say a number between 29 and 38. So, Esme has to say 28, and before that, 17, and before that, 6. So Esme must start with 6, and then say 17, 28, 39, and 50. Cassidy woke up in a dungeon and couldn't remember what happened to her. She needed to get out, but the door was locked and required a password. Can you guess what the password is? Every next number is made by moving the last digit of the previous 4 to the front. So, the password must be 4728. 3 friends, Ashton, Emma, and Lewis, went skydiving together. This is them right before they jumped out of the plane. Which of them is in danger? Ashton. He's wearing a regular backpack instead of his parachute. Amelia is running away from a group of zombies and comes across 3 doors. Behind the first one, there's a raging fire. Behind the second door, there's a deep lake. Behind the third door, there are venomous bees that bite everyone who enters. Which way is the safest? I'd choose the second door and then just swim away. It's just a lake. Amelia can probably do it. Esme was walking in the forest and got lost. It was late evening when she finally found a witch's house and asked the woman to help her get home. The witch recently got internet access and was shopping online, but there were lots of fake items on the internet and she needed to buy only original products. Unfortunately, she didn't know the correct logos, so she needed Esme's help. First of all, she wanted an iPhone. Which iPhone logo is the original one? Of course, this one. Next, she needed a pair of sneakers for her morning runs. Which logo is correct? Here it is. Next, she wanted to get a fancy purse. Which Chanel logo is correct? This one. The witch also wanted a BMW motorbike. But which one is the original logo? Yep, that's right. When the witch needs gas for her motorbike, what 7-Eleven should she go to? It's this one. Amazing! Now Esme can go back home. Evelyn went to a corporate party with her husband. At the party, she suddenly blacked out. When Evelyn woke up in a hospital, she couldn't remember anything. There were 2 men in front of her, and each of them claimed to be her husband. But which one tells the truth? Since Evelyn and her husband were at a corporate event, they were both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal enough, so her husband must be the one who's wearing a suit. Miss Lodge was going on a vacation. She cleaned up her office and left, taking the key with her. When she came back 2 weeks later, she immediately realized that someone had been to her office while she'd been away. How did she understand it? When she left, the window blinds were closed, and now they're open. A group of friends met in the evening for a game night. According to the rules of one of the games they played, they each had to draw a card with a number. Soon, they realized that the number 6 was missing. Since it was a new set of cards, it was weird that they had already lost it. They all revealed their cards and, indeed, there was no 6. Suddenly, one of the friends started to laugh. She said she'd found the missing card. Can you spot it too? The player who has a 9 actually has a 6, but he's holding it upside down. There are only 8 cards and the highest number is also 8. It was reported that another civilian had invaded Earth. Detective Callum had a special mission to find everyone who was not human. He entered a cafe searching for invaders and noticed one of them right away. Can you tell which customer is not human? It's that dark-haired guy right there. Look, he has 6 fingers. Take a look at this busy street. Can you find an imposter here? It's this guy. His clothes are super warm, but look, his face is blue. Now we're moving to the mall. Try to find an intruder here. Look, this woman is glimmering. She must be from another world. We have a few more intruders to catch. Detective Callum found out that one of them was at a local college, so he drove there. Which student is not human? Look, that girl is floating, just a couple of inches above the ground, but still, definitely not an ordinary student. After work, the detective went to the gym, but even there was someone from another planet. Can you spot them? Pay attention to the guy on the treadmill. He's running too fast. He must be an imposter.
Alright, take a look at the sequence of letters. What are the next 3 ones? Each of the letters is the first one of the numbers from 1. O stands for 1, T for 2, T for 3, F for 4, F for 5, S for 6, and S for 7. Then there must be E for 8, N for 9, and T for 10. And that's today's alphabet lesson. Take a look at the picture and tell who's a ghost. It's the man on the very right. He doesn't cast a shadow. 2 people, Libby and Gray, were chilling on a beach. A police officer came up to them and said that he recognized the bike standing nearby. It was stolen from a man a couple of blocks away. He asked which one of them stole it, but both denied it. Can you tell who's guilty? Take a look at the footprints. They lead from the bike to the place where Libby is sitting, so she must be the one who took it. After an accident, Samara was experiencing memory loss. 3 guys came to visit her: her twin brother, her long-lost cousin she hasn't seen for 10 years, and a guy from school who liked her but she never talked to. Take a look at their wallets and decide who is Samara's brother. It must be this guy. Look, he has a picture with her. A random guy wouldn't have one. Neither would a long-lost cousin, because the photo wasn't made long ago. On the weekend, Kira and her friends were supposed to celebrate a birthday of a friend online, but Kira didn't show up. In school, her friends asked why she didn't come. She said that on Friday evening something happened, and she didn't have any internet or electricity for the whole weekend. She said that she used this chance to study and spent both days in front of the computer writing her midterm papers. Her friends didn't believe her. Why? If there was no electricity, she wouldn't be able to work on her computer. A PC doesn't work without electricity, duh, and a laptop wouldn't last for 2 days without charging. Lenore accidentally sent a message to her sister instead of her best friend and didn't want her sister to see it. She stole her sister's laptop and tried to delete it. However, the laptop required a password. Luckily, there was a hint: Math 2, Music 2, History 6 5, Drama 2 3. What's the passcode? Every number indicates the letter you should take out of the corresponding word. The second letter in math is A. The second letter in music is U. The sixth and fifth letters in history are R and O, and the second and third letters in drama are R and A. The password is Aurora. Esme was walking in the forest and got lost. Finally, like all the other times, she found the witch's house. Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day. She walked in, said hi, pet the cat, and asked to send her home. The witch wanted to make a deal. If Esme solves her brand new riddle, she'll help her. If not, Esme will stay with them forever. The witch blindfolded Esme. There was an unknown number of coins on the table. 6 of them were heads up, and the rest were tails. Blindfolded, Esme had to divide the coins into 2 groups so that there was the same number of coins heads up in both of them. How can she do it? So, since there are 6 coins heads up, Esme grabs 6 random coins and flipped them. No matter how many coins there are and how many heads up ones she picks, it always works. That's because the number of tails up coins she gets among those 6 random ones is exactly how many heads up are left in the other pile. So when she flips them, they'll equalize. Estelle arrived on an island to spend her holiday there. All the locals there always tell the truth, and all the tourists always lie. 2 girls approached her, and one of them said, "Hey, I'm Sylvie, I am a tourist here, and this is Tessa, she's local." Can you tell if the girls are locals or tourists? Since locals always tell the truth, a local would never call themselves a tourist. So Sylvie must be a tourist. But she must be lying about something. If she told the truth about herself, then she's lying about Tessa. Therefore, Tessa is a tourist too. Miss Virginia Dell was a rich young lady. She loved jewelry and kept a collection of her favorite pieces behind the glass in her dressing room. One morning, she walked in and found that someone broke the glass and stole her jewelry. The detective had 3 suspects: Ms. Dell's cleaning lady, Willow, who cleaned the house every day; Ms. Dell's best friend, Kelly, who had the key from the house; and her cousin Sophia, who was staying with Ms. Dell for the holidays. Willow said that last night, when she cleaned the room at around 10 p.m., everything was all right. Kelly said that she hasn't been in the house for a couple of days. Sophia said that it's not in her manners to walk around someone else's house and steal jewelry. Who stole the jewelry? It's the cleaning lady. It seems like right after she broke the glass and stole the jewelry, she wiped off the pieces of glass while cleaning as well. It was a stormy night, and Alana and her sister stayed up late watching a soap opera. In the middle, there was a weather forecast. The weather lady said it'd keep raining for 2 more days, but in 72 hours, it'd be bright and sunny. Alana turned to her sister and said that the weather lady was wrong. Indeed, Alana was right. How did she know? In 72 hours, it would be the very same time as now, so it'd be night too. It can't possibly be bright and sunny at night. The Millers were having a barbecue party in the backyard. They made some fresh orange juice, and Giselle bragged that she could tell the difference between fresh juice and not very fresh juice. She asked her family to test her. She got blindfolded. Her brother brought some old juice from the fridge and let her drink it, and then he gave her some fresh juice. Giselle could tell the difference. How? The older juice from the fridge was colder than the fresh one was outside. Mr. Thompson was a strict English teacher who never allowed electronics in class and read all the paper notes aloud in class, so the students had to be conspirative. Once, he read out the following note: 1, 2, 8, 13, 5, 31, 3, 15. I love this book. I used to read it every month. Can you decode what the note says? The numbers stand for the place of the letter in the phrase. The first one is I, the second one is L, the eighth one is I, the 13th one is K, the fifth one is E, the 31st one is Y, the third one is O, and the 15th one is U. The note says, I like you. Ah. It was a lazy day, and it just started raining when Mr. Jones called a police officer. He said someone just bumped into his car and drove away. The police officer arrived. The only person not too far away from the place of the accident was a man trying to fix his tire. Mr. Jones says that's the gentleman who bumped into his car. However, the gentleman said that it couldn't be true because he was busy fixing his car the whole time. Can you tell who's lying? It's the guy fixing his car. The rain just recently started. If he was fixing his car the whole time, the ground underneath his car would have been dry, but it's wet, which means he's just arrived there. Brittany was having a costume birthday party. A detective came in the middle of the celebration, saying he's looking for a robber who must be there, pretending to be a guest. Take a look at the people and say who the detective's main suspect was. Look at this guy. Unlike all the other guests, his costume is totally inconsistent. It's a cowboy hat and Joker's jacket. He probably wore whatever he could find in a rush, trying to hide. Yvonne went on a business trip and asked her boyfriend, Dale, to go and buy her a special chocolate bar from a man who came there once a month at midday. That day, he was busy playing video games and totally forgot about it. Yvonne asked him if he got her the snack, and he said that all the bars were sold out when he came. He even sent her a picture at the park to prove he was there. Yvonne looked at the picture and realized that Dale had lied to her. How? The shadows are too long, so it can't be midday since shadows disappear at noon, and the clock that says it's noon could have been photoshopped. 5 students stand in line. Adeline isn't next to Cleo. Bellamy isn't next to Danica or Cleo. Nor Cleo nor Bellamy are next to Eloise. From your perspective, Danica is on the left of Eloise. What are each girl's names? Adeline isn't next to Cleo, so we cross them from both columns, from Adeline's and Cleo's. Bellamy isn't next to Danica and Cleo. Danica and Cleo are both not next to Bellamy then. Cleo or Bellamy are not next to Eloise, and Eloise isn't next to them. Now, both Bellamy and Cleo have one neighbor, so they must be on the sides. But we don't know who's on the left and who's on the right. Let's try both. Bellamy's neighbor is Adeline. Cleo's neighbor is Danica. So, in both cases, Eloise is in the middle. Now, let's remember the last condition that Danica is on the left of Eloise. So, the first order is correct. It's Cleo, Danica, Eloise, Adeline, and Bellamy. Whew!
It belongs to your friend, but you use it way more than them. What is it? That's right, it's your friend's name. Alice was walking in a field and suddenly saw a white rabbit. She took a picture of the animal. Suddenly, the rabbit said, "Hey, I can show you where the treasures are hidden." Alice got very excited, but then her friend called her, and the rabbit ran away. When Alice returned to the field the next day, she saw 9 rabbits. They all kept silent. Can you help Alice find the right rabbit? It's over there, in the right corner. What substance is there in each mug? 1. It's not sugar or water. 2. It's not sugar or tea. 3. It's not tea or water. The first mug contains tea, the second mug contains water, and the third mug is full of sugar. Gemma overslept and arrived at her office an hour later than usual. She found a beautiful bouquet of roses on her table. Gemma got very excited when she saw a postcard tucked among the flowers. She reached for it and accidentally pricked her finger on a thorn. The card said the flowers were from a secret admirer. Gemma looked attentively at her 3 colleagues. Serge was on the phone. Will was printing out some documents. He winked at the girl, and Peter was making coffee. He offered Gemma to join him. At that moment, Gemma understood who had sent her the bouquet. How? It was Serge. He had a fresh scratch left by a thorn on his finger. Rotate it 90 degrees and it's everything. Cut it in half and it's nothing. What is it? When you cut 8 in half, it turns into 2 zeros. If you place it on the side, 8 turns into the infinity symbol. The more it dries, the wetter it gets. What is it? It's a towel. Tim loved his girlfriend Christy very much, so he went to a tattoo artist to get her name tattooed on his arm. But the artist turned out to be a crazy scientist. He used Tim's DNA to create 2 evil clones. When Christy came to the tattoo parlor to pick Tim up, she saw 3 identical guys. Help Christy determine which Tim is the real one. The guy on the left is the real Tim. He's the only one who has a tattoo. The clones aren't supposed to have any. How many months of the year have 28 days? All 12 months. Look at the picture. Which one is different? It's A. The color that should be at the top is at the bottom. Helen was a famous singer. When she was applying her makeup in the dressing room, her agent called her. He said that her song had become the main hit of the year. Helen told her assistant, Nick, "Hurry up, bring my best friend Lisa here. I want to celebrate." Nick came out of the dressing room and saw a crowd of fans in front of him. All of them wanted to get Helen's autograph. Nick asked, "Which one of you is Lisa?" Each girl claimed she was Lisa. Help Nick to identify the real Lisa. The real Lisa is wearing a necklace with the left half of the heart on her neck. It matches the one Helen is wearing. Josh left his office earlier that day and decided to take a walk through the park. But suddenly, it started to rain. Unfortunately, Josh forgot his umbrella and hat at work. His clothes were soaked, but not a single hair on his head got wet. How did he do that? Josh was bald. Richard is a famous writer. On a Sunday morning, he finally finished his book and called his agent Stacy to share the good news. Stacy came to his house at 9 a.m. She found Richard unconscious on the floor.
Oh, no.
His laptop with the new book had disappeared. Stacy called the police. The detectives arrived immediately and questioned everyone who had been in the house. The nanny said she had driven Richard's son to school. The gardener said he'd had a day off and spent time with his family. The driver said he had taken Richard's car to a car wash. Once the detective listened to everyone's stories, they knew who was lying. How did they find out? The nanny was lying. She said she had taken Richard's sons to school. But schools are closed on Sundays.
5 friends were eating apples. Amy finished before Bob, but after Kat. Dan finished before Eve, but after Bob. Can you figure out the exact order in which they finished the apples? Kat, Amy, Bob, Dan, and Eve. Eric's job is to guard a supermarket parking lot. One day, he was walking around the area as usual and noticed that someone had parked the car in the middle of the driveway. He questioned 4 women. "Ladies, who is the owner of this car?" All 4 women replied, "It's not my car." Eric took a closer look at the vehicle and figured out its owner right away. Can you guess which of these women is the owner of the car? It's the First Lady. She's the only person who's not wearing a bag. Her bag is in the car. Peter came home in the evening and found his car wrecked. His 3 roommates were there. Peter decided to find out who was guilty, so he questioned them. Josh replied, "I didn't touch your car. I was walking the dog." Mike said, "That wasn't me. I was playing football with my friend." And Will said, "Nothing special happened today. I was just hanging out with our neighbors." Can you spot the liar? It's Will. He said he'd visited the neighbors, but nobody lives in this abandoned house. Plus, his cheek looks like he was in a crash. Sophie was sleeping. Suddenly, a robber broke into her apartment. He locked Sophie in the bathroom and asked her to stay quiet. Then, the robber began to collect cash and jewelry around the apartment. Suddenly, the phone started ringing. The robber told Sophie to pick up and talk without giving away the situation. Sophie picked up the phone. It was her husband. She said, "Oh, hi, darling. Is it an emergency, darling? Give me a call when you land. I'll cook your favorite meal that will help you relax after your business trip." Then she hung up. 10 minutes later, the police arrived at Sophie's house and caught the robber. Can you guess how the police learned about the robbery? Sophie played with the mute buttons. She pressed mute on specific parts of her conversation to make her husband only hear "emergency," "call," and "help." And he called the police right away. Rick woke up in a weird basement and saw 3 doors. He has only one chance to escape. If he enters one of the doors, he won't be able to use them again. The first door leads to a room with high-voltage wires hanging above the wet floor. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with water and piranhas swimming in it. The third door leads to a space where flesh-melting acid rain is falling from the ceiling. Which door is more or less safe to enter? Rick should choose the first door. He'll be okay if he won't let his body come in contact with the wires and the wet floor at the same time. Jerry called his wife Robin and told her that he would be home by 7 o'clock. They didn't plan anything special for that evening, but when he arrived at 2 minutes past 7, Robin was furious. Why was she so angry? Any ideas? She thought her husband would come home after work by 7 p.m., but he appeared by 7:02 a.m. the next morning. When the day after tomorrow is yesterday, today will be as far from Wednesday as today was from Wednesday when the day before yesterday was tomorrow. What is the day after this day? Can you guess? It's Thursday. Harry and Barry are two magicians performing this evening in two nightclubs on the same street. But one of them is fake. Can you guess who? It's Barry. Take a closer look under the magician's tuxedo. On the right, you can see a restaurant employee badge with his name on it. He must be a waiter who came instead of the real magician. A monkey, a squirrel, and a bird are racing to the top of a coconut tree. Who will get the banana first, the monkey, the squirrel, or the bird? None of them, because bananas don't grow on coconut trees. Bonnie is cooking dinner. She has 3 stoves, a gas stove, a wood stove, and a coal stove, but only one match. What should she light first of all? The match. You are a bus driver. 9 people get on the bus, and 3 people get off. Then 2 more people get on, and another 1 gets off. Finally, 4 more people get on, and 2 get off again. How old is the bus driver? Whatever your age is, remember the question? You're the driver. So, riddle me this. Amanda loved cats very much. One day, she visited an acquaintance and met her lovely Persian cat. Amanda asked her acquaintance how old the cat was. Well, in 2 years, Luna will be twice as old as she was 5 years ago. Amanda nodded and continued petting the cat. And did you understand how old the animal was? Luna is 12 years old. That's an old kitty. Look at these 3 friends. They seem to have gotten into a trap. They're hanging upside down in the air with their legs tied. On the ground, under the blonde girl's head, there are several venomous snakes. Under the head of the girl with red hair, a fire is burning. And on the ground, under the guy, there are a couple of scorpions. How can these guys escape? See that black cloud with lightning? It's going to start raining. The rainwater will put out the fire under the girl with red hair. And look, the girl has a knife tucked under her belt. She can cut the rope tying her legs. And when she's on the ground, she can help the other 2. Hannah was running a marathon. Right before the finish line, she outran the person who was running in second place. The woman was happy. She was going to win. But in a few seconds, she got very disappointed. Why? Hannah was still the second best. She was faster than the second person, not the first. Olivia was a secret agent on a mission. At one point during the mission, she had to get into a room with ancient artifacts. But to enter, she needed to choose between 2 doors. In front of them, there were 2 guards. Soon, Olivia realized that one guard always lied and the other always told the truth. One door was safe to open and the other hid a terrible danger. The secret agent could only ask one guard one question to figure out which door she needed to go through. What question should it be? Olivia should ask, if I asked the other guard which door was safe to open, what would he say? Both guards will point at the door that hides some danger. the lying guard because he's, well, always lying, and the guard who tells the truth because that's what the lying guard would tell Olivia. So the woman just needs to open the other door. Liza was working as a teaching assistant at a college. One day, she had to look after a group of students who were writing an exam. Liza knew some of them were going to cheat, and indeed, soon after the exam started, the girl spotted one person who was cheating. Who is it? It's the guy in the back of the classroom. He's got the answers written on his ruler. Can you figure out which of these two watches is real and which is just a toy? The watch on the left is a toy. Look at its minute hand. It's too long and won't be able to pass all the way around the watch face. In a small village, there were 4 people who were suspected of being werewolves. One night, the village held a meeting to decide which of them was the monster. Here's what the suspects look like. This person has long, sharp fingernails and is known for being able to run extremely fast. This person has long, sharp teeth and is known for being able to see in the dark. This person has wild, unkempt hair and is known for being able to jump high. And this person has a deep growling voice and is known for being able to smell things from far away. Can you figure out which of them is the werewolf? Suspect B is the werewolf. The description of long, sharp teeth and being able to see in the dark are both typical characteristics of werewolves in mythology and folklore. While the other suspects have unusual traits as well, they are not necessarily associated with werewolves. Joe has a friend, Lucas, who never answered any questions directly. Once, Joe sent Lucas a message inviting him to join their common friends in a cafe. Lucas's answer was kind of weird. Sorry, no money, Jobinjob. Luckily, Joe knew his friend well enough to understand what he meant. But can you figure it out? Lucas meant he had no money because he was in between jobs. Look at this bizarre wedding. What do you think? Why are these people, who are about to get married, wearing black balaclavas? Look, there are cameras on the walls. This couple must be hiding their identities. 3 friends went for a walk in a forest. People said a wizard lived there, and he wasn't a kind, friendly person. But our guys didn't believe these rumors. Everyone knows magic doesn't exist. Suddenly, a wall of fire blocked their way. Look at the things the friends have and try to figure out what they can use to put the fire out. They could use this bucket to bring some water from that puddle, but it wouldn't be enough to put out such a large fire. This hose is useless, there's nothing to attach it to. The friends should choose this spade and use soil to put the fire out. You're in a forest. Suddenly, it starts raining. You notice a cave and hide there. But as soon as you get inside, the opening behind you closes. There are 3 tunnels in front of you, and one of them leads to freedom. But the first tunnel is full of crocodiles that haven't eaten in 2 years. In the second tunnel, there is a hungry lion that hasn't had any food in 2 weeks. And the third tunnel leads to a scorching hot desert. Which tunnel should you choose? You should wait until the desert cools down at night and follow the third tunnel. As for crocodiles, yes, these animals can indeed live without food for up to 2 years. Lions can also survive for 2 weeks without eating anything. But before you get a chance to leave the cave, you hear some deafening noise. It's a landslide. The tunnels end up blocked, but you now see 3 other passages. A fire-breathing, wait, is it a dragon? Is guarding the first passage. The second passage is filled with hundreds of poisonous cacti growing there. Their spines are covered with an extremely toxic substance. And in the third tunnel, you can see the red eyes of some very hungry wolves. Which tunnel can lead you to safety? You should choose the tunnel with the cacti. At least they can't move. And if you're careful, you'll be able to walk around the cacti without touching their spines. One morning, Donna came to the office and found a box of chocolates on her desk. There was also a strange note. Can you help Donna understand who presented her the sweets? Her secret admirer is Ryan. Those are not dates. The number actually means the needed letter in the name of the month. A man told his boss, "Don't take your planned flight today. I had a dream last night that if you do, it might end badly. Your plane will crash." The boss fired the man. Can you figure out why? The man was a night watchman. He should have been on duty the previous night, not dreaming. Jacob and Mark decided to go on a camping trip. Look at the things they're going to take with them and say what they should leave at home. A small hint, try to think outside the box. Look, a tent, game, rice, lamp. All of these words consist of 4 letters. But a chair? This word has 5 letters. The friends should leave it at home. A man went around the world in a ship, and still he was always in sight of land. How is it possible? The man was in a spaceship orbiting Earth. Hannah's birthday is on January 23rd, but she always celebrates it in the summer. Why? Hannah lives in the Southern Hemisphere. There, January is one of the hottest months of the year. Hey, nice job! Vincent got locked in a room with no windows and only one massive door. There's a panel with several buttons on the left and another one with a hint on it on the right. There's also a clock on the wall above the door. Which button should Vincent press to get out of the trap? The green triangle. The numbers on the panel represent hours. If you connect them on the clock face, you'll get a triangle. The door opened and Vincent got into a dimly lit hall. There, he saw one more door, but this time, both the lock and the key were hanging together on the same chain. But after examining this system for a couple of seconds, the guy understood he wouldn't get out this way. Why? The key has a different pattern. It won't fit in the lock. Vincent needs to look for another way to escape. Then Vincent notices a table standing in a dark corner. There's a piece of paper, a knife, and several inflated balloons lying on it. Vincent picks up the paper. It's a note. To get out of here, you must puncture a balloon with a knife. But if the balloon loses any air or bursts, you'll stay here forever. Vincent thought for a while, then he did something and a hidden door opened in one of the walls. What did he do? He let the air out of one of the balloons. After that, he easily punctured it with a knife. Detective Marcus and another passerby became witnesses of a car accident. A man, hit by a minivan, was lying on the ground, unconscious. Marcus rushed to the nearest cafe to call an ambulance. When he got back, the passerby told him the man had turned onto his back but hadn't come to his senses. After looking at the scene for a couple of seconds, the detective said, "You'd better return everything you've taken from this man." Why did he say so? When they saw the man first, only one button was buttoned on his suit jacket, but now it's already 2 buttons. The passerby must have opened his jacket to look for the wallet and then buttoned it up incorrectly. Look at this picture and try to figure out who is an alien in disguise. It's the guy in the yellow shirt. He's eating a banana, but he hasn't peeled it before biting on it. He probably sees this fruit for the first time. 3 famous detectives came to a coffee shop to discuss a tricky case. A waiter came up to them and asked, "Does everyone want coffee?" The first detective said, "I don't know." The second detective answered, "I don't know." And the third detective said, "Yes." Do you know what the first 2 detectives ordered? All the detectives ordered coffee. Each of them wanted to have this drink, but the first 2 couldn't know if it would be everyone's choice. If the first 2 detectives hadn't wanted coffee, they'd have simply said no. So, when the third detective heard the replies of his colleagues, he figured out both of them wanted coffee. And since he was also going to take a cup, he said yes. Ralph, Willie, Amber, and Grace are in a museum room. Someone stole a priceless exhibit from this room several hours ago. Ralph, Willie, and Amber claim they have nothing to do with the crime, but the detective doesn't believe them. They all get arrested and taken to the police station. Only Grace, who hasn't answered the question, is free to go. Why? Grace is the detective. Janice was having her morning coffee in a cafe when she heard a car screeching to a halt, then loud shouting. She ran there and saw a man with his bicycle on the ground and a car standing nearby. The cyclist didn't look hurt, and Janice helped him to get up. The car driver came up to them too. The cyclist pointed at the man. "He made me crash by hitting my bike with his car." But the driver said, "I saw him losing control of his bike in the mirror. Then he fell to the ground, and I stopped the car to go check on him." Janice almost immediately understood who was lying. Have you figured it out? The car doesn't have side mirrors. There are also lots of things in the back seat. They block the view of the road. So the driver couldn't have seen anything in his rearview mirror either. He's lying. One wealthy businessman was famous for always wearing a white hat. But one day, he came to his office with a bunch of fruit on his head. His employees were shocked, but they didn't dare to question the man. The situation repeated the next day. On the third day, the businessman's secretary plucked up all his courage and asked what was going on. The man answered, "That's because I lost a bet. I haven't fulfilled it yet, but I'll do it today. There's no need to order lunch for me." What did the businessman have to do to fulfill the bet? When he made this bet, he said, "If I lose, I'll eat my hat." Detective Mark Darson suspected one man of committing a crime. He decided to stake out his house. Not too far away, he spotted an artist setting up her easel. Apparently, she was going to draw the criminal's house. At one point, the detective had to go away to the police station. He asked the girl to call him if she saw someone entering or leaving the house. She agreed. When Mark came back in the evening, the artist told him she'd seen no one. The detective immediately understood she was lying. How did he figure it out? When he was leaving, all the windows in the house were closed. But in the picture the girl drew, the windows are open. It means someone was inside while Mark was away. Take a look at this picture and try to understand which guy is Ben. Ben is the guy looking for something on the floor. He's the only one not wearing his shoes. That's because they're still in his locker. You've got a sack filled with coffee beans. You need to use this coffee to completely fill 2 other sacks of the same size. How can you do it? Put one empty sack into the other and fill them with coffee. A large sum of money was stolen from Mr. Green's safe. The police suspect Alan, but Alan says, "I don't know anything about safes or about how to open them. I'm a simple blacksmith." The detective doesn't believe him and asks Alan to prove it. He gives the guy one job-related task. If he copes with it, he's telling the truth. Alan gets 5 different chains. Each of them has 3 links. The detective asks the guy to make one chain out of these 5 pieces, but he can separate and combine only 3 links. In no time, Alan finished this task and was released. How did he do it? Alan separated 3 links of one chain and used them to connect the remaining 4 chains. Can you move just one matchstick to make a square? Pull this matchstick up a bit. Here's your perfect square. Mr. Bernard, a famous inventor, lived on the 6th floor of an apartment building. After long months of work, he finally created a time machine. He packed lots of food, water, and other necessary stuff and was ready to test his invention. He set the timer so that the machine took him 500 years back into the past. Mr. Bernard was about to press start when a thought came to his mind. He took the mechanism and carried it to his garage that was on the 1st floor. Why? This way, the inventor would avoid getting hurt. 5 centuries ago, there were no such high buildings. He'd simply fall to the ground from the height of the 6th floor. Look at these guys carefully. One of them lied when he said he hadn't painted the green smiley face on the fence. Which one is it? It's the guy on the left. Check out his left hand. Even though it's in his pocket, you can still spot some green paint he'd used. Bruce was walking along the beach when he found a glass bottle. The thing looked old, and the guy spent a long time trying to open it. Finally, he succeeded. To his shock, a genie rose from the bottle. "I'll fulfill your 3 wishes, but you aren't allowed to wish for more wishes." Bruce agreed, but still managed to get more wishes. How did he do it? His first wish was that the genie allowed him to ask for more wishes. Several birds landed on trees, 1 bird for 1 tree. But in this case, one of them didn't have a tree of its own. Then they regrouped with 2 birds sitting on 1 tree. After this, 1 tree was left free. How many birds and trees are there? There are 4 birds and 3 trees. Detective Hall, one of the agency's most talented detectives, used his coded key and entered the apartment where the secret documents were hidden. To help him find them, his assistant Clark had left an encrypted note with the exact location of the documents. It looked like this. Detective Hall deciphered the message and found the documents. Where were they hidden? The note says, "Under the carpet in the studio." The detective just read it backwards and ignored the spaces between the words.
A mad scientist caught Larry and locked him in a small room. There were no windows, and the door was locked. But there was a note on the table. It was from the scientist. JFMAM ... JASOND. Guess the missing letter, and I'll set you free. 10 minutes later, Larry was already running away from the strange place. He managed to figure out that the missing letter was J. Those were the first letters of the months of the year, from January to December. And the sixth letter, J, stood for June. There are two villages next to each other. People who always tell the truth live in one of them. Liars live in the other. The inhabitants of the villages often visit each other. You're in one of the villages, but you don't know which one it is. What question should you ask a passerby to find out where you are? Ask them, are you a guest here? If they answer yes, you're in the village of liars. If they say no, you're in the village where honest people live. Brian came to his senses on the floor in his living room. He was unharmed, but couldn't remember a thing. Suddenly, two young women entered the house. They looked exactly the same. When they found out what had happened, each of them started to claim that Brian was her husband. Can you help the guy figure out which of the women is his real wife? It's the woman on the left. She has a tattoo on the same arm as the girl in the wedding photo. Megan was 21 on her last birthday, but she's going to be 23 on her next one. How is it possible? It's Megan's 22nd birthday today. Sandra's boyfriend went on a business trip to New York. Soon, the girl got a weird text message from him. It looked like this: NHAPPY. What did Sandra's boyfriend want to say? The message means, unhappy without you. Now how about solving this rebus puzzle? NEA, friended. What can it mean? It's a friend in need. And one more for you. Man, bored. It's man overboard. Great job. Now let's see how attentive you are. Look at this image. Who's not from Earth? Must be the guy on the right. The guy on the left is only wearing a Halloween costume. Look at his hazel eyes. They seem to be absolutely human. And now look at the eyes of the guy on the right. Ugh, creepy. How about this image? Can you spot anyone who doesn't look like us? Earthlings? It's the lady on the left. Have you noticed a couple of extra eyes hiding in her hair? These drivers are about to take part in a race. Which of them is from another planet? That driver over there. He seems to be leaving a trail of slime behind him. Okay, you have a sharp eye. But is it sharp enough to crack the following riddles? A rabbit is hiding somewhere among these mushrooms. Can you spot it? It chose one of the largest mushrooms to hide behind. At first sight, there's nothing unusual here. But what if you examine the picture more attentively? Right, no one uses a soccer ball to play basketball. Mark bought a new keyboard, but the seller fooled the guy and gave him a fake one. Can you find the proof? The keyboard has 2 8s, but no 9s. A dog runs away from its master and is now hiding somewhere among these bowls. Help the worried owner find its pooch. Gotcha! Similar, but not the same. How good are you at math? Let's figure it out. How much will a 50-degree angle measure if you look at it through a microscope that magnifies 5 times? The angle won't change. It'll still be 50 degrees.
Someone stole a rare diamond from Mr. Lauren's house. The police suspect Jack, a notorious burglar. A detective immediately goes to his house, but when Jack finds out the man doesn't have a search warrant, he doesn't let him in. In an hour, the police arrive again, this time with the warrant. They search the entire house, but find nothing. They're ready to leave when one of the police officers exclaims, "I know where the diamond is! And have you figured it out too?" When the police first came to Jack, his hair was much shorter. He must be wearing a wig, and the diamond is hidden underneath. On Tuesday afternoon, a man came to the police station. He claimed his car had been stolen. Detective Brown asked the man to show him the place where it had happened. They went to a movie theater. The man said that the day before, he and his wife had come to watch a movie. They left the car in the parking lot, but when the movie was over, the car was gone. After looking around for a couple of minutes, the detective understood who the criminal was. And have you figured it out? There was no theft. The man is lying to get the insurance money. Look, there are no movies on Monday. Maria Walker, a rich businesswoman, collected ancient pieces of art. One day, she managed to buy a priceless Chinese figurine. Maria locked it in a safe in her office and went home. But the next morning, the figurine was gone.
Oh no!
The police have 3 suspects, all of them Ms. Walker's subordinates. The detective asked each of them if they had taken the figurine from the safe. Beverly said she hadn't been to the office since Monday. Ralph said, "I don't know how to open safes, and I'm not interested in Chinese art." And Vincent said he had been to Miss Walker's office after her departure, but he only took some documents he needed. Who is the thief? It's Ralph. Otherwise, how would he know the figurine was Chinese? A man wearing a hat, a bandana covering his face, and dark sunglasses robbed a bank. The police have 3 suspects. Look at them and try to figure out which one is the criminal. Usually, people tie bandanas under their ears, but in this case, the bandana covers the ears, probably hiding something that distinguishes the man from other people. The criminal must be the man with a large earring. Jesse Harris was a pilot. Once there was an emergency during a flight. Jesse had to land the plane right on the highway. Luckily, he was a skilled professional and no one was hurt. But Jesse himself hit his head and lost his memory. When he climbed out of the plane, 2 women ran toward him. Both of them claimed he was her husband. Can you figure out who's telling the truth? The woman on the left is a robot. Look, there's a USB port in her neck. Mary was a college teacher. It was the beginning of a new school year, and 3 new students joined the class. When Mary saw them, she immediately realized something was off about one of them. Who? It's the guy in the middle. He doesn't have a shadow. Logan worked as a security officer on a small cruise ship. One day, during a severe storm, he found Mr. Lewis lying on the deck. When the man came to his senses, he said someone had hit him on the head and taken his wallet. Logan had 3 suspects. He visited them in their cabins. Linda told him she was feeling queasy because of seasickness. She couldn't even get up from her bed. Denise said she had been watching a movie on her smartphone. and Philip said he had been writing a letter to his wife. Logan immediately understood who had hit Mr. Lewis. Do you know it? It was Philip. Look at his letter. The handwriting is immaculate, but it's impossible to write so accurately during a storm. Kayla went on a business trip. She didn't have time to tell her boyfriend about her plans, so she left him a note with clues. In it, the woman wrote, "I'm in the city that is 3 of 7 chicken, 2 of 3 cat, and 1 of 2 goat. I'll be here for a week. Come visit me." Do you know where Kayla's boyfriend should go? To Chicago. Yeah. Look at these guys carefully. Can you tell which one has drawn the graffiti? It's the guy on the left. He has some spray paint on his hoodie. Alan was driving along a small country road when he saw that someone had crashed their car into a tree. A moment later, he spotted a man running toward him. "Help me, please! I was moving rather slowly when a truck suddenly cut me off. I lost control of my car and crashed into a tree." Alan gave the man a lift to the police station in the nearest town. They found the truck driver surprisingly fast. He was right near the doors of the police station. But the man denied cutting the smaller car off. He claimed he was going to the police to report the accident. Suddenly, Alan realized who was lying. Have you figured it out? Look at the tire tracks. It's obvious that those left by the truck go over the ones left by the car. It means the truck couldn't have cut the smaller car off, and its driver is lying. Several police officers were called to a hotel. One of the employees was found unconscious on the floor. The police checked the cameras to figure out what had happened. They didn't see the criminal, but now they had 3 suspects, all of them hotel guests. Sarah said, "I heard some noise, but I stayed in my room because I was scared." James told the police he had been outside. He was trying to catch a taxi to go sightseeing. And Damien said he had been sleeping at home at the time of the accident. Who is lying? Damien. He's a hotel guest. Then how could he be at home sleeping? Beverly was making dinner in the kitchen when she heard glass shatter. She rushed to the living room and saw the window broken. Someone had thrown a stone that was now lying in the middle of the room. Beverly called the police, but they didn't manage to figure out who the culprit was. The next day, when Beverly came home from work, she saw something on her doormat. It was a note. Williamson was the surname of Beverly's neighbors. There were 3 teenagers in that family, Mark, Roy, and Natalie. Which one broke the window? It was Mark. The note says, "Williamson." Bruce owned a large store that sold expensive designer items. Recently, there have been several thefts there. The man asked his friend Gabriel, who was a police detective, to check what was going on. Gabriel spent 2 hours in the store. When he left it, he knew who the thief was and who was guilty of these crimes. The thief was the detective himself. He easily stole a pair of costly sunglasses to prove that the store security was very bad. That's the reason for so many thefts. One of these young women has a dog. Can you tell which one? It's the girl on the left. Her pooch has torn her sneakers. When Amy entered the office, she noticed that her colleague Emma was very upset. It was just the beginning of the workday, but someone had already stolen her purse. Only those who worked in the company could get into the office. Amy started her own investigation. Jenna, who worked in IT, said she had been fixing somebody's computer. Joanna, the secretary, answered she'd been on the phone with some clients. James, the sales manager, said, "I've been in a 3-hour-long meeting. I'm exhausted." Amy knew right away who had taken the purse. Can you figure it out? It's James. The working day has just started. How could he be in such a long meeting? There are 2 towns near each other. People who always tell the truth live in one of them. Liars live in the other. The inhabitants of the towns often visit each other. What question should you ask a passerby to find out which town you're in? Ask them, "Are you a guest here?" If they answer yes, you're in the town of liars. If they say no, you're in the town where honest people live. When it's raining, the cat is either in the room or in the basement. When the cat is in the room, the mouse is in the burrow and the cheese is in the fridge. If the cheese is on the table and the cat is in the basement, the mouse is in the room. Right now, it's raining and the cheese is on the table. Where are the cat and the mouse? The cat can be in 2 places, either in the room or in the basement. But at the moment, the cat can't be in the room because the cheese is not in the fridge, it's on the table. It means the cat is in the basement. And since the cheese is on the table and the cat is in the basement, the mouse must be in the room. Dora was on her way to work. When she was passing by a dark alley, she heard a loud scream. The woman came a bit closer to check it out. Someone was shouting, "Help! Help me!" But as soon as Doris saw the alley, she immediately called the police and ran away. Why? It was a trap. There were 2 kinds of footprints going into the alley, but no footprints coming out. Mr. Wilson's company was having lots of financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office. "They stole my safe with all the money I had." The police officers who came to investigate asked the man why he was sure it was they. "Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry it." The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left dents in the carpet. After the bank had been robbed, the police found the bag with the money in the park. It was lying among cacti. The police officers arrested 3 suspects. It didn't take long to figure out who the bank robber was. Do you know who it is? It's the man on the left. He's the only one with some scratches. They were left by the cacti. The police suspected that Deborah took part in smuggling diamonds out and into the country. But they didn't have any proof. That's why Detective Taylor was following the woman, trying to find some evidence. One day, he noticed that Deborah entered a house. But when she left it, Taylor realized she didn't have any diamonds on her. She must have left them in the house. How did he understand? Deborah was wearing boots with removable heels. The diamonds were hidden there. Look at this picture carefully and try to figure out who the guy's mom is. The woman on the right is definitely human. She can't breathe underwater. But the guy doesn't have any problems with that. He's smiling and looks relaxed. Plus, he has gills. That means the mermaid is his mother. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The police officer jumped into his car and set off on a chase. At one point, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he had seen the red bike. "No, I've only seen a silver convertible and nothing else." Then the detective saw a gray car appear from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she'd seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber? The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck. A unique diamond was exhibited in a famous museum. It was guarded at all times, and only small groups of 10 people were allowed to enter the room. After one of such groups had left, an alarm went off. The guards ran into the room and found there a young man. They searched him. There were just several bills, a lighter, a bottle with soda, a camera, and a cell phone in his bag. The guards had to let the man go. But the next morning, it was announced that the diamond had been stolen. How did it happen? The man replaced the real diamond with a fake one and hid the real treasure in his bottle with soda. Mr. Raymond Lopez, a rich businessman, urgently needed his assistant, but the guy was on vacation in the countryside. It was Wednesday when Mr. Lopez sent him a letter asking the man to come to the city as soon as he could. Now it's already Sunday and no assistant in sight. Raymond decided to go and check on the guy. When he arrived, he found out that his assistant was okay and packing his stuff. "Oh, Mr. Lopez, I received your letter just yesterday. I was going to leave in a half an hour," he exclaimed. "You're fired. I don't need people I can't trust. You just wanted to have a longer vacation, that's all." Why did Mr. Lopez think so? The calendar on the assistant's table shows that it's Monday, November 4th. But there's no mail delivery on Sundays. The guy is lying. Someone robbed a bank in a large city. A police detective went to visit the main suspect. "I've been feeling unwell all this week, and I haven't left my apartment for 3 days. I didn't even need food. My fridge is full. You can make sure yourself," the suspect said, and indeed opened his fridge. But the detective realized the man was lying and arrested him. How did he figure it out? First of all, the bread on the table looks fresh. Plus, if the man had been staying inside for 3 days already, his fridge wouldn't be that full. An art expert paid big money at an auction for a painting that didn't cost anything. He knew about this fact. He was also an honest man and didn't have any criminal intentions. Why did he buy this picture? Although the painting cost nothing, its frame was a beautiful and expensive piece of art. After several crimes had been committed in the city, the police decided to visit the main suspect. He lived in the countryside. When the officers entered the house, they found no one inside. They searched the entire place, including the attic, which was in a mess. Then they decided to wait for the house owner to come home. One of the police officers went to buy some water. When he came back, he told the rest of his colleagues there was no need to wait anymore. Why? The attic window was closed when the police first arrived, but now it's open. The criminal was hiding in the attic and escaped through the window. Two people are standing near the river. Both of them want to get to the opposite side, but the boat can only hold one of them. And still, they manage to get across the river. How? They were on the opposite banks. Detective Adams came to the park to have lunch outside in the sun, but his attention was drawn by 3 men running around a fountain. Each of them was shouting, "Thief! Catch the thief!" The detective was confused. Who was the real thief? That's why he just kept watching. After some time, the distance between the men shortened. Detective Adams immediately realized who the real thief was. Can you figure it out too? If the third man was the thief, the second one would only have to turn around to catch him. The same goes for the second man, which means the man running the first is the criminal. How can you put a whole apple into a glass bottle without cutting the fruit or breaking the glass? Put the bottle over an apple tree branch in the spring, then wait until an apple grows inside. Scott, an infamous burglar, came home one evening. Just a day before, he had stolen some very expensive paintings from Mr. Smith's house. He was in the living room when he noticed several police officers approaching his home. Scott gave instructions to his wife and slipped out through the back door. When the officer knocked on the door, Scott's wife told him, "My husband has been away for a week already. He's actually supposed to come home today." At this moment, Scott entered the house. He hugged his wife as if they hadn't seen each other for ages. But the police officers didn't believe them. Why? Look at the dog. If its owner had been away for a week, the pooch would be jumping around, happy and excited. But the animal saw Scott just a couple of minutes ago and isn't showing too much enthusiasm. If it's raining at midnight, can you expect that in 72 hours it'll be sunny? No way. In 72 hours, it's going to be night again. Detective Lee was called to a small family cafe. The owner told him her story. "I went away to the kitchen for a couple of minutes, but when I came back, I saw that all the money from the cash desk had been stolen." At that time, there were only 3 visitors in the cafe. All of them were women. When the detective asked them who had taken the money, each of them exclaimed, "It was her." The first woman added, "The owner is my friend. How could I do this to her?" The second woman said, "I was looking out of the window, drinking my coffee. I didn't see anything." And the third woman claimed she would never steal anything. Who took the money? Detective Lee quickly figured out that the thief was the second woman. First of all, the 2 others pointed at her. Secondly, she claimed that the first woman had stolen the money. But if she really was looking out of the window, how could she know this? During a fire, a bank was robbed. The security guard told the police that he wanted to save a bag of money, but he had to crouch to lace up his boot just in front of the emergency exit. At that moment, the door opened and hit him on the head. When he came to his senses, the money was missing. Why was the security guard arrested? All emergency doors open outwards. A young lady has the same number of brothers and sisters, but each of her brothers has 2 times fewer brothers than sisters. How many sisters and brothers are there in the family? There are 4 girls and 3 guys in the family. Ms. Harrelson called the police and reported that someone had broken into her house. When the officers arrived, they found the woman tied up to a chair. She said a man in a black mask had entered her house and tied her up so that she couldn't even move. Then he had stolen all her savings and left. But the officers didn't believe Ms. Harrelson and arrested her for misreporting. Why? If the woman couldn't move, how did she manage to call the police? It was Hazley's birthday. Her parents said that they had a present for her, but she had to find it first. To help the girl, they gave her a note that said, "Where should the girl look for her present?" It seems as if the note doesn't make any sense, but that's only because the 2 halves of each word are switched. If Hazley places them in the correct order, she'll get pretty straightforward instructions. Your present is hidden in the basement. Sydney told her mother that she and her gymnastics team were going to a sports camp for the weekend. Mrs. Stevenson knew her daughter well and suspected it was just an excuse. Sydney was going to spend the weekend with her boyfriend instead. Still, the woman helped Sydney pack and let her go. When the girl returned, she was angry with her mom for forgetting to pack a toothbrush. That was when Mrs. Stevenson realized she had been right, and Sydney hadn't been to the sports camp. How did she figure it out? When she packed Sydney's things, she put the toothbrush in the bag with her gymnastics clothing. If her daughter had indeed been to the sports camp, she'd have opened the bag and found the toothbrush. But she didn't, which means she never used that bag. Look at these people who are doing their grocery shopping. One of them has stolen a watermelon. Can you tell who? It must be this guy on the right. He's holding a soccer ball, but it looks as if it's very heavy. And since soccer balls don't weigh much, it must be a disguised watermelon. Mason went on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss asked him to send pictures as proof that he was actually there. Mason sent pictures every day, but when he returned from the expedition, his boss fired him. Take a closer look at the pictures and try to understand what his boss didn't like. Mason was sent to Antarctica, but in some pictures, you can see palm trees. No wonder the boss realized the photos were photoshopped and Mason hadn't gone there at all. An old man had extremely poor vision. He was living with his son, Mark, because he needed assistance all the time. One day, the man was resting in his armchair while his son was preparing dinner. Suddenly, Mark heard glass shatter. The man ran into the room and saw that the window was broken. He asked what had happened. His father told him that some dark-eyed, dark-haired guy had thrown a stone into the window and shattered it. Then he ran away. But Mark didn't believe his father. Why? The man had extremely poor vision, and he wasn't wearing his glasses at the time of the accident. He couldn't see the guy, let alone the color of his hair and eyes. Savannah went on a business trip with her husband. In the evening, the woman didn't feel well and suddenly blacked out. When Savannah woke up a couple of hours later, she couldn't remember anything. There were two men in front of her, and both claimed to be her husband. The woman couldn't remember which of them was her real husband. Can you help her figure it out? They went to a business meeting. That's why they are both dressed accordingly. The guy in a hoodie doesn't look formal, so her husband must be the other one, the man who's wearing a suit. Now, this girl, Susanna, can't remember who her husband is too. Can you help her? It must be this guy. Look, he's wearing a ring while the other doesn't seem to be married. Ava's parents, John and Catherine, came to the hospital to pick up the teenager. Can you tell which of these young people is their child? It's this girl. John and Catherine are Ava's parents. Ava is a girl's name, and she's the only girl in the room. Esme was having her usual walk in the forest. By nighttime, she realized she had gotten lost again. She was wandering around until she came across the witch's house. The girl petted the cat, greeted the witch, and asked the woman to send her home. At that time, the witch was participating in a math tournament for witches from all over the world. She really wanted to win and to prove she was the smartest witch out there. There was one last task she couldn't solve. The witch promised that if Esme helped her, she'd let her go home. If not, Esme would have to stay with the witch forever. Here's the task. Make 3 identical squares by moving only 3 matches. You just have to move these 3 matches over there. It works, and Esme can return home. Thor asked his friends to guess what his laptop's 3-digit password was. Each of them made a guess. The numbers they chose were 357, 902, 907, 954. Even though no one's guess was right, every person guessed one digit correctly and exactly in its right place. Can you figure out Thor's passcode? Since just one of them guessed one digit correctly, the first digit can't be 9. In this case, 3 people would have guessed it right, and there wouldn't be enough people to guess the third digit. The only other option for the first digit is 3, which means the second digit can't be 5 and the third one can't be 7. Since the second one can't be 5, then it's 0. 2 people guessed it correctly. And the third digit is 4. If it was 2, it would mean someone guessed 2 digits correctly, 0 and 2. But that's not true. So, Thor's code is 304. Students were divided into 2 teams to do one task. Storm, Dean, and Brooke were in Team Yellow. Elsie, Emma, and Veda were in Team Purple. Following the same logic, what group does Lexi belong to? In Team Yellow, there are students whose names have just one syllable. In Team Purple, there are students with the names that consist of 2 syllables. Lexi's name has 2 syllables, so she belongs to Team Purple. Atlas got trapped in the attic of an old house. There are just 3 ways out, and all of them dangerous. Behind the first door, the roof and the floor are made out of magnifying glass, and the sun will burn anyone who comes in. Behind the second door, there's a room filled with poisonous gas, and the third door is hiding a hungry lion. How can Atlas escape? He should wait until it's night. The sun will set, and the guy will safely walk through the first door. Now, take a look at Iris and her close friends, Max, Ginny, Josh, and Ren. Who's her partner? It must be Josh. Look, they have matching tattoos. On a rainy night, Dylan was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there: an elderly lady who was feeling unwell, a doctor who saved many lives, and Selena, a girl Dylan had been crushing on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for one more person in the car. What should Dylan do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would take the elderly lady and drive her to the hospital. And Dylan can stay at the bus stop with the girl of his dreams. Charlie, Andy, Taylor, and Alex are all related to each other, but one of them is the opposite gender from the other 3. Here's what you know. Alex is either Charlie's brother or Charlie's only daughter. Alex's sister is either Andy or Taylor. Taylor's only son is either Charlie or Andy. Can you tell who's the opposite gender from the other 3? If Alex is Charlie's only daughter, then Alex cannot have a sister. It means that Alex is Charlie's brother. If Alex's sister is Andy, then Andy's a girl. And according to fact 3, Charlie is Taylor's only son. But Alex is Charlie's brother. So we have a contradiction here. It means that Alex's sister is Taylor. So Taylor's a girl. Charlie, Alex, and Taylor are siblings. And Andy is Taylor's son. Keenan was watching TV when a detective arrived with a search warrant. The detective said that the city bank had been robbed, and Keenan was the main suspect. The man replied that he hadn't even left the house that day. He couldn't do anything. The police didn't find the money, but still arrested the man. Why? Keenan said he hadn't left the house, but take a look at the calendar and the grocery store receipt. The dates are the same. It means Keenan at least did some grocery shopping and lied about not leaving the house.
Annie managed to buy presents for everyone except her dad. She knew what everyone wanted, but her dad was kind of secretive and not the talking type. He was also not great with technology and never bought anything online, so there was no way she could sneak into her dad's computer and check the saved items in his shopping cart. But he always liked to make lists in his little notebook, and Annie was sure she might be able to find a wish list there. So she sneaked into her father's office one day to look for the notebook. It was nowhere to be found, but his study table had a locked drawer. She looked for the key around the room but couldn't find it anywhere. That's when 2 different sticky notes attached to 2 different books inside the bookcase caught her eye. The first note was attached to a psychology book and had P5487TH written on it. The second note was attached to a detective novel and said P21320TH. Annie immediately knew what the notes meant. Can you guess what she had to do? She had to open to page 548 in the first book and find the 7th word on this page. Then, she had to open page 213 in the second book and find the 20th word on that page. The words she found were under and desk. The girl immediately looked under the desk and found the drawer key taped to it. James was walking back to his apartment from work late at night. Suddenly, he was hit on the head and taken away. When he woke up, he found himself in a small room. He tried to escape, but the door was locked with a padlock. James tried to look for the key, but there was nothing in there but a window with strange-looking metal bars. Suddenly, he noticed something. It helped him to find the key. Do you see it too? One of the metal bars is different from the others. That one is the key. Giselle was camping in the forest during a night when the moon was full. After midnight, when she was making s'mores by a fire, she heard a loud howl. There was a werewolf in the forest, and it managed to find Giselle's tent because it smelled of food there. Thankfully, Giselle was not in her tent anymore when the werewolf arrived because she had already run away. Hiding behind a tree, she watched the creature eat her s'mores and tear up the tent. When the werewolf left before sunrise, the girl returned to her tent, but everything was ruined. There was no more food or water left. Her cell phone had run out of battery, so she couldn't call anyone. She started wandering through the forest, and soon she came upon a witch's house. When she walked in, she saw the witch and another lady. Giselle asked the witch if she could send her home. The witch agreed to help her on one condition. She would only send Giselle home if she guessed her sister's name. If not, she would turn her into a frog. Giselle knew the answer, but how? Did you notice that the witch's sister is wearing the same necklace around her neck as the werewolf? Well, Giselle did, and there's a name written on the necklace: Abigail. Zoe went to a security guard and reported that her gym bag was missing. She said she'd gone to the ladies' restroom after her dance cardio class. She was fixing her hair when someone came up from behind and pushed her. So she didn't see the person who had taken her bag. The security guard refused to check the footage from the security camera that was outside the restroom. Neither did he file a report. Why? Zoe said she was fixing her hair, so she must have been looking in the mirror. If she was telling the truth about someone sneaking up from behind, she would have definitely seen their reflection. So, Zoe probably lied so that she could sue them. Luckily, the security guard was super smart. Several women went missing in a small town. James Darcy and his police team had been searching for months, but they couldn't find the place where the women were kept. One day, when Sandra was jogging, she decided to use another route to get home. As she was passing an old cabin, she heard screams coming from its basement. She immediately called James Darcy to report it. James and his team arrived at the place and busted in. They found there 3 women. They all said that they had been locked in the basement for months, but James knew one of them was lying. The first woman said that her name was Tammy and that she had spent almost 8 months in the basement. The second woman claimed that her name was Hannah and that she had been there for almost 5 months. The third woman told him that her name was Allison and that she had stayed there for about 3 months. Can you tell who the liar is? Allison is telling the truth. Look at her. Her clothes are dirty. Her hair is greasy. Her roots have started to grow out. She definitely hasn't seen daylight for a long time. The same goes for Hannah. But look at Tammy. She looks clean. Her clothes look new. Her hair and makeup look fresh. So it must be her who is lying.
Luna found her cousin Mia poisoned in her room and called the police. Detective Callum asked Luna what had happened. She said that she was walking past Mia's house when she saw that the light in her room was on. She walked to the window to see if Mia was there and saw her on the floor. She had a key, so she walked into the house and called the police. She didn't touch anything so that they could investigate what had happened. Detective Callum arrested Luna. Why? She said that she saw Mia in the window. But look, the blinds are closed. If Luna hadn't touched anything, she couldn't have seen what was going on in the room. She must be lying about something. While Ms. Virginia Dell, a rich lady, was on her 3-month business trip abroad, her mansion was robbed. The security was notified, and Detective Callum started the investigation. There were 3 people caught on the security camera, and he started interrogating them. Charlotte, Ms. Dell's cousin, said that she'd visited several times to collect the mail. Camilla, the housemaid, said that she had come 3 days ago to clean the house. Ismail, the gardener, said that she came every Wednesday to take care of the garden. All of them denied stealing anything. Detective Callum arrested one of them. Whom? Camilla, the housemaid. She said that she had cleaned the house 3 days ago. But look at the house. There's dust and dark stains. It doesn't look like the house has been cleaned recently, so she probably lied. Abigail stayed late in the office because she had a lot of work to do. She left the room to get some snacks and a coffee. Half an hour later, she returned and found out that someone had stolen her wallet, so she called the police. Detective Callum interrogated 3 people who were still in the office. Noel, the cleaning man, said that he had been cleaning another floor and had never stepped into Abigail's office that day yet. Sonia, the accountant, said that she had been talking on the phone with her mom. Sean, a regional manager, said that he had been in his office flooded with work. Who stole the wallet? No one. Detective Callum figured out that since Abigail went to get snacks and coffee, she must have had her wallet with her. He just recommended she should get some sleep and stop overworking. Elizabeth and her daughter Ella went abroad traveling. They were walking and shopping in one remote town when Elizabeth noticed that Ella had disappeared. She called the police and they started to look for the girl. There were 3 people nearby and they were interrogated. Layla said that she hadn't seen the girl. Madison said that she had seen the girl with her mom, but that was it. Amelia said that she had heard someone screaming, but she hadn't seen who it was. Who should be arrested? Layla. Look, she's carrying Ella's purse. Gideon had a girlfriend, a sister, and 2 cousins. Figure out who Gideon's sister is if the cousins are saying the truth and the sister and the girlfriend are lying. Chloe. E is his girlfriend. Ruby. Chloe is lying. Skylar. Ruby is lying. Lily. Skylar is not his sister. If Chloe is telling the truth, then Lily is lying. Then Skylar is his sister. who's also lying. So, Ruby must be telling the truth, which contradicts that Chloe is telling the truth. So, Chloe is for sure lying. Then, Ruby is telling the truth, and Skylar is lying. So, Lily is telling the truth. Two liars are Chloe and Skylar, and they're Gideon's girlfriend and sister. Lily says that Skylar isn't his sister. So, Skylar is his girlfriend, and then Chloe is his sister. Scarlett just moved into her new apartment 3 days ago. One evening, she was reading before bed when she heard a knock on the door. She opened the door, and there was a confused man who said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just moved in here earlier today, and I thought it was my apartment. Once again, sorry, and good night." Then he left. Scarlett didn't believe that it was just a mistake and reported the man to the police. Why? The problem was that the guy had knocked. If he had really thought it was his room, he would have tried to open it with his own keys.
Emma came to the office on Monday and found out that someone had deleted an important report from her computer. She knew that in the company there were 3 people who would be happy if she lost her job. Emma loved reading detective novels and even wanted to become a private detective when she was younger. That's why she knew she had to question the suspects. Laura, Emma's colleague, said, "I've just arrived. Phew, the weather is awful. Such a downpour. Why are you asking me?" Thomas, the accountant, answered,
I was out getting coffee and I just returned.
and Eliza, a new employee, said,
I had a meeting with a client in a cafe. I've just come back to the office.
who might have anything to do with Emma's report. Eliza, pay attention to the suspect's feet. Thomas's and Laura's shoes are wet. They got caught in the rain, but Eliza's high heels are perfectly dry. She must have lied about going out to meet with a client. Emma found this strange. To confirm her suspicions, she decided to watch Eliza, but the very next day, the girl disappeared, along with some very important documents. Emma's boss asked her to help him return the documents. He didn't want to inform the police yet. Despite all, Emma was happy. She could fulfill her dream of becoming a detective. Eliza's computer was protected with a password. After an hour of failed attempts, Emma finally noticed a piece of paper on the floor under Eliza's desk. She picked it up.
I'm made up of 2 words joined together. I'm a dish. My first half is a famous genre. My second part is a grain. What am I?
The answer to this riddle might be the password, but what is it? Popcorn. Emma managed to start the computer, and soon enough, she found a map with some coordinates. Time for some action. The map led her to a modern building. It was a gym. She entered and asked the receptionist about Eliza, but the woman refused to tell her anything unless she brought a guest pass. Once inside, Emma decided to explore the place. At one point, she entered the showers for ladies. She immediately realized something was off. But what exactly? See that man reflected in the window? Who is he, and what is he doing here? Emma was about to run out of the showers when everything went black. When she woke up sometime later, she realized she was in a small room without windows. There was a door with a combination lock. In her hand, she was clutching a note. Spelled forward were those rodents that terrify you. But what you need is spelled backward. You can't touch it, but you can see it at night. What is the password? The rodents the note speaks about are rats. Then the word Emma needs is star. The girl managed to open the door. She rushed out of the room but stopped abruptly. She saw a large armchair. A man was sitting in it. It was the man from the showers at the gym.
Here you are, he exclaimed cheerfully. I admit that at first I wanted to bring your boss down, but I've changed my mind. I want to play now. If you crack all my riddles, I'll give you the documents and let you go. Emma had nothing to do but agree. The man said, "See, I have a room filled with gold. Once, 3 thieves sneaked into that room, but only 2 of them walked out. After they left, the room was empty. So, where was the 3rd thief?" The 3rd criminal was in a wheelchair. He didn't walk. He rolled out of the room.
Tomas was washing a window on the 24th floor of a large office building, and suddenly he heard someone screaming. The guy looked outside and saw a lady falling from the 30th floor. But in 5 minutes, the woman was standing on the ground, totally unharmed. How did she survive? Take a closer look at the sky. Yes, it's Superman! He saved the lady. Look at the picture. What's wrong here? Watermelons don't grow on palms. Twin brothers Stan and Ken had been working hard. They wanted to collect money for their mother's anniversary. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to save enough to buy her the car of her dreams. The brothers were very upset and agreed to go shopping the next day and pick another gift. At night, Ken couldn't fall asleep because he got a genius idea. While his twin was sleeping, Ken secretly took all their savings and headed to a casino. It was his lucky night. He tripled the sum. In the morning, Ken put all the money back in the box and fell asleep. Stan woke up, opened the box, and immediately realized that Ken had touched their savings. He didn't even need to count the money to understand that. How did Stan figure it out? In the box, there were large and small bills in the evening, but now there are only large ones. Kelly was traveling and discovered a beautiful abandoned castle. She entered the building and went downstairs. She was taking pictures when someone locked her inside the basement. Kelly looked around and saw 3 tunnels leading to freedom. In the first tunnel, a huge hungry monster was waiting for her. The second tunnel was full of snakes, and the third tunnel was filled with sleeping gas. In 5 minutes, Kelly was outside the castle, running to the nearest police station. How did she escape? She used her headband as a mask and ran away through the third door. Look at these animals attentively. What's wrong with this picture? This little guy on the left is listening to music. 2 sisters went on a hike. Each of them took a box of matches. Nellie put her matches in a bag together with toothpaste, and Shelley decided to store her matches in a bag with nail polish. While the sisters were walking through the forest, they accidentally fell into a huge puddle. When they got out of it, Shelley suggested making a fire to dry their clothes and cook something to eat. Both sisters took out their matches. Unfortunately, Nellie's matches were covered in toothpaste, and Shelley's were in nail polish. Both girls left the matches to dry in the sun and left to collect some firewood. It started raining, and all the matches got soaked. But 10 minutes later, the sisters still managed to make a fire and toast some marshmallows. Whose matches did they use? They used Shelley's matches. The nail polish dried and made them waterproof. If you don't keep it, it'll break. What is it? It's a promise. Susan was asked to describe her sons. She said, "They're all redheads but 3, all blondes but 3, all brunettes but 3, and all pink-haired but 3. How many sons did Susan have? The answer is 4. 1 redhead, 1 pink-haired, 1 brunette, and 1 blonde. Lisa was a famous top model. She was found unconscious in her dressing room during a photo shoot and taken to a hospital. Doctors said she had a severe allergic reaction, but when Lisa came to herself, she insisted she hadn't eaten anything all day. The model's manager was very concerned and interrogated everyone who had been around Lisa. The stylist said she had applied Lisa's makeup and, indeed, hadn't seen her eating anything. The cleaning lady said she had cleaned the dressing room with organic, non-allergenic products. Lisa's main rival, Nora, said she had been watching the shooting all day long. She hadn't noticed anything suspicious. Who's the culprit? It was the stylist. Lipstick was the only thing Lisa could have swallowed that day. Look at the pictures. Which of these people is a risk taker? The girl is risking less. She's sitting on the second floor, and there's a pool below. The guy is risking more. The building he's sitting on is taller. You can see clouds and planes in the sky. What food can you never cheer up? A blueberry, because it's always blue. Haha. Okay, let's move on. There are 5 lemons in a bowl. You take away 3 of them. How many lemons do you have now? Well, you have the 3 lemons you took. King Gerald has a very beautiful daughter named Teresa. 4 princes from different countries came to the kingdom, hoping to marry the girl. But the king decided to check how smart they were and organized a special contest. Teresa was in the center of a 200 by 200 foot room, and the princes were standing on small boxes in each corner of the room. The first prince to touch Teresa's hand would become her husband, but they weren't allowed to leave their places or use anything but their hands or wits. One of the princes figured out what to do immediately. He married the princess. What did he do? He just asked Teresa to come over and touched her hand. You can easily find me on Earth, Mars, Mercury, and even Jupiter, but you'll never find me on the Moon, Venus, or Pluto. What am I? I'm the letter R. Manager George received an anonymous text message. It said a robber had just entered the supermarket where he worked. George hurried into the hall and saw 4 pregnant women in the grocery section. The man looked at the ladies attentively, detected the thief, and called the police. How did he know? The woman on the right is the only one who doesn't have a shopping basket or cart. She's putting groceries inside her fake belly. Imagine that you're in a room with no windows and no doors. How can you get out? Just stop imagining the room. Mrs. Victoria decided to give her grandson Rick an unusual gift for his 18th birthday. She called him into her room, showed the guy her safe, and handed him a corked bottle with a key inside.
Honey, this is the key to my safe. You can keep all the money you find there if you manage to open it. But you must take the key out without removing the cork or breaking the bottle. Good luck.
Rick accepted the challenge and started thinking about the puzzle. What would you do to get the key out? Push the cork into the bottle, and you'll easily get the key. Look at the picture. What's wrong here? The lady's reflection is holding the bag in the wrong hand. Amy had a crush on her neighbor. She went to the local witch, Sally, to ask for her help. Sally said she would make a purple love potion. On the night of the full moon, Sally took a sheet of paper with her granny's love potion recipe. She mixed all the ingredients except for the last one. Suddenly, a gust of wind threw the recipe into the fireplace. Sally was desperate. She didn't remember the name of the last ingredient, but she still knew for sure that the potion should be purple. Help Sally finish her work. She should add the blue ingredient. When you mix blue and red, they make purple. Harry and 3 other video bloggers traveled to a creepy canyon. They wanted to make a video about this mysterious place. They had been filming all day long. In the evening, they gathered around the fire, but it started to rain and everyone went to sleep in their tents. In the morning, Harry woke up, left his tent, and headed to the big bag with food to grab something for breakfast. That's when he discovered that all the food was gone. Harry got angry. He woke everyone up and interrogated the members of his team. Fred said he'd been looking at the starry sky all night. Jane said she'd been trying to catch a Wi-Fi signal to have a video chat with her boyfriend. And Sam said he'd been sleeping. Who is lying? It's Fred. It was raining at night, and he couldn't see any stars through the clouds. 2 students, Betty and Sarah, went for a walk after a very stressful test. They bought some coffee and candies and began to look for a picturesque spot for a picnic in the park. But suddenly, a guy in a mask grabbed Betty's bag and ran away. Sarah and Betty followed him. At one point, they saw a blind man sitting on a bench. He was wearing glasses and had a cane. The girls asked him if he'd seen a person in a mask carrying a female bag, but the man said he couldn't have seen anyone because he was blind. Sarah got very embarrassed, handed him a candy, and thanked him for his help. Then the girl took Betty aside and whispered that the blind man was the robber. They needed to call the police. Betty was very surprised. Why did Sarah decide the man was the robber? If the man was indeed blind, he wouldn't have seen the candy. Will's mother has 3 sons, Fred, Peter, and... Will. It's Will's mother, after all. 2 mothers and 2 daughters spent all day shopping, but they only bought 6 dresses. This was enough for each of them to have 2 dresses. How is that possible? Only 3 people went shopping: a mother, her daughter, and her daughter's daughter. One of them is a daughter and a mother at the same time, and each of the 3 purchased 2 new dresses.
All Becky's shoes are black, except 2. Also, all Becky's shoes are red, except 2. And all Becky's shoes are yellow, except 2. Can you calculate how many shoes Becky has in general? Just 3, 1 of each color. Dr. Smith prescribed Dan expensive vitamins. He gave Dan 2 bottles labeled R and B. The pills are entirely identical. The doctor asked Dan to take 1 pill daily from the R bottle and 1 pill from the B bottle. He can't take more or less than that. One morning, Dan was taking out the pills. He took out 1 pill from the R bottle as usual, and then, by mistake, he took out 2 from the B bottle. Now Dan has no idea which pill is which. He can't just throw away the expensive pills. What would you suggest? Dan should cut each of the 3 pills in half and put each half in 2 piles. Now each of the 2 piles will contain half of pill R and 2 halves of pill B. Now, Dan should take 1 more pill from the R bottle, cut it into half, and put the 2 halves in 2 different piles. This way, we'll know that each pile will have 2 halves of pill R and 2 halves of pill B, or 1 complete R pill and 1 complete B pill. Dan can take one pile today and keep the second pile for tomorrow. I am red, but I smell like blue paint. What am I? Red paint. Timmy's mother has 3 sons. She named her first son April. The next one's name is May. Can you guess the youngest son's name? And the correct answer is Timmy. Pretty obvious, huh? Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? The reflection in the mirrors doesn't match reality. What about this picture? Can you see anything odd? These 2 ladies seem completely fine, but there's a bandage on this guy's leg. No one would go to a swimming pool if they had big scratches, unless they're a zombie. The king of octopuses has sons, who have 6, 7, or 8 legs. The one with 7 legs always lies, but the one with either 6 or 8 legs always tells the truth. On a certain night, 4 sons meet and chat. The blue octopus says, "We have 28 legs altogether." The green one says, "We have 27 legs altogether." The purple one says, "We have 26 legs altogether." And the red octopus says, "We have 25 legs altogether." Can you identify the color of the son who's speaking the truth? The green sun is telling the truth. To prove it, let us first assume that one of them is telling the truth. Obviously, 3 of the 4 sons lie as they disagree with each other. Let's suppose that the blue octopus is telling the truth. In that case, he has either 6 or 8 legs. And each of the other octopuses is lying, which means they have 7 legs. In this case, the total number of legs will be 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 27 legs, or 8 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7 equals 29 legs. But the blue octopus said that they have 28 legs altogether. Therefore, he lies. Now we can follow the same logic and check the remaining 3 sons. And we'll find out that only the green octopus is telling the truth. I have an eye, but cannot see. I'm faster than any man alive, but have no limbs. What am I? The correct answer is hurricane. I know a word of letters 3. Add 2 and there will be fewer. Can you guess the word? The correct answer is few. I have a beard without being a man. I'm green, but I'm not a lizard. I'm white, but I'm not snow. Who am I? The correct answer is leek.
Doris was having a beach vacation with her friend Teresa. One morning, the young women were sunbathing near the water. Teresa went to a cafe to get some lemonade while Doris went swimming. When Doris came back, she saw that her smartphone, which she had left on her beach towel, was gone. "Have you seen my phone?" she asked the man sunbathing nearby. "Nah, I've been sleeping all this time." At this moment, Teresa came back with the lemonade. She looked around and immediately understood where Doris's phone was. Who took it? It was the man, all right. Before the incident, the spade was lying on his left. Now it's on the right. There's also a suspicious pile of sand near the spade now. The man must have hidden the phone in the sand, hoping to dig it out later. Terry invited his friend Alice, who was studying to become a police officer, to a party. It was organized by his friend Sean. Terry was worried there could be a thief at this party. Throughout the event, Alice was watching the guests attentively. At the end of the party, she told Terry who the thief was. Have you figured it out? It's the host, Sean. At the beginning of the party, one of the guests had a watch on his wrist, and this woman had a beautiful necklace. But at the end of the party, the watch is already on Sean's wrist, and the necklace is in the flower pot. Detective Carlson was walking along the street when he heard the sound of glass shattering. He looked around and saw a large crowd gathering near the broken window of a jewelry store. The shocked owner was inside. The detective ran up to him. "Has anything been stolen?" The man said he hadn't understood yet, but then Carlson exclaimed, "Sorry, I've got a thief to catch," and rushed away. What did he see? The store window was broken to distract everyone. People were looking away and didn't see this guy stealing a wallet from the man in a suit. At first, the wallet was in the man's pocket. Now the thief is rushing away, the wallet in his hand. The police had long suspected that Mr. Hall was a smuggler, transporting forbidden things on his yacht. That day, they knew for sure the cargo they were looking for was on his vessel. Several police officers came with a search warrant to the marina where Mr. Hall's yacht was parked. They examined every nook and cranny of the yacht, but didn't find what they were looking for. Mr. Hall was sneering while seeing them off. Suddenly, the youngest police officer exclaimed, "I know where the cargo is!" What did he understand? The cargo could only be underwater. Wrapped in a protective cover, it was tied to the anchor. Look at these guys carefully. One of them is not living alone. Who is it? It's the man on the right. He's got 2 toothbrushes. Austin, a rich businessman, brought very important documents to his office. But he had a meeting and needed to leave for several hours. Austin asked his secretary to be on the lookout for anything suspicious. His competitors could try to break into his office to look at the documents. When he came back, his secretary told Austin everything had been quiet. But when the man looked around, he realized someone had been inside his office. The secretary eventually admitted having fallen asleep while Austin was away. How did the businessman understand someone had visited his office? The globe on his desk is now turned in the opposite direction. William, a successful businessman, was having dinner at an expensive restaurant. At one point, he went outside to make an important call. When he returned, his case with money and documents was gone. The thief could only be another customer. When the police arrived, they questioned everyone who was in the restaurant. Karen said she had been writing a new chapter of her book. Paul said he had been waiting in a line to get to the bathroom. Donna had already paid for her coffee and was putting on her coat. And Robert was having a video call with his girlfriend. It didn't take detectives long to figure out who the thief was. Do you know it? The criminal is Paul. Besides him, there were only 4 other visitors at the restaurant, and they were all busy. How could there be any line for the bathroom? The police got informed that one of the most wanted criminals, Carl Walker, was going to arrive in the country. According to this information, the man was going to come by plane. Unfortunately, the police knew very little about him. He was short, wearing glasses, and traveling under a false name. Detective Adams went to the airport. He detained 4 people who fit the description. They were Mr. Lewis, Mr. Relcaw, Mr. Taylor, and Mr. Wilson. Look at these men carefully and try to figure out who the criminal is. It's Mr. Relcaw. His last name is actually the criminal's last name, Walker, but with its letters reversed. A detective is looking for an important witness. Without them, she won't be able to solve a complicated case. The only thing she knows is that the witness is left-handed. Look at these people and help the detective choose the person she needs. It's the waitress. She's holding the tray with her right hand and serving people with her left dominant hand. Look at these princesses and try to figure out which of them is the fake one. It's the princess on the right. The tiaras of the princess on the left and the one in the middle have a reflective shine to them. You can see they are made of precious metals. But the ice princess's tiara doesn't shine. It's made of plastic. A businessman arrived at his office after a long trip. He discovered that some important documents had disappeared from his desk. He immediately called the police, and a detective arrived shortly after. After interviewing all the workers, he had a list with 3 suspects on it. They were Emma, the accountant, Sophia, the receptionist, and James, the sales manager. But all of these people claimed they hadn't been inside the businessman's office. It didn't take the detective long to figure out who was lying. Do you have any ideas? The thief is James. Both women wear high heels in the office, but the footprints on the floor are obviously left by a pair of sneakers. An elderly lady called the police. She told them someone had sneaked into her house while she had been asleep. The intruder took away the money she kept hidden in her kitchen cupboard. The woman was sure it was one of her neighbors. The police visited all the neighbors, but each of them claimed they had spent the entire day at home. Look at their houses and try to figure out who the thief is. Rick is lying. He wasn't at home. His car was parked near the house already after the snow had built up on the driveway. Look at these people carefully. Who does this dog belong to? The dog's owner is the guy in the middle. He's the only one who isn't trying to pet the animal. Can you figure out how many watermelons there are in this picture? Five. Gloria failed her math test. Luckily, her professor was an understanding woman. She offered a deal. If the girl cracked 3 riddles, she'd get a good mark. Of course, Gloria agreed. The first task was to figure out the answer to the equation. Can you do the same? The answer is 232. Gloria didn't need much time to solve it and got the next puzzle. The student saw several numbers made up of matches. What should be the last number? The last number should be 1. After every step, the number of joints goes down by 1. And finally, the teacher gave Gloria several pool balls. Use only 3 of them to make this equation true. After a couple of minutes, Gloria figured out the way to do it. Do you know what she did? The girl rotated 9 and got 6. After that, she took the balls with numbers 13, 11, and 6 and got 30. Gloria's quick wit helped her, and she passed the test. You're trapped in a room with no doors or windows. All of a sudden, the room starts filling with water. You check everywhere, but can't find any way to turn it off. You know that help is on the way, but it's still at least 5 minutes until their arrival. You only have 2 minutes. After that, the entire room will be flooded. Obviously, you can't hold your breath for 3 minutes. You've got 3 objects, but only one of them can save your life. What should you choose? A straw, a rope, or an empty bucket? You should opt for the bucket. Put it on your head. This will create an air pocket, and you'll be able to breathe for a couple of minutes until help arrives. You've got lost in a desert. It's already dark, but bright moonlight illuminates the surroundings. At one point, you see a tower, but an evil wizard is looking out of the window. He tells you, "If you want to save your life, solve my riddle. You need to figure out the height of this tower." You look around and see nothing but several fallen tree branches. There's also a watch on your wrist and your own shadow. What can you use to figure out how high the tower is? Your shadow will help you. You can compare its length with the length of the shadow cast by the tower. Then, since you know your height, you can calculate the height of the tower.
Sheila participates in a beauty pageant. The next catwalk will take place in 30 minutes. Sheila leaves her stuff in the dressing room and goes outside to talk on the phone. After that, she returns and sees that someone has torn her costume. Sheila gets furious and questions her rivals. Millie says, "I was getting my makeup done, so I sat in my chair motionless, and I couldn't look around." Chelsea says, "I was in a toilet. I think I ate something wrong for lunch." And Isabella says, "I was outside the dressing room filming stories for my subscribers." Who is lying? Millie. She said she got her makeup done, but why did she ruin it by putting on a face mask? Sheila goes to the storage room to find a new dress. Suddenly, the door slams shut behind her.
Oh no!
She needs to enter an 8-letter password to open the door. Sheila needs to be on the stage in 5 minutes. Can you help her crack the code? This picture on the wall is a hint. Sheila needs to enter paradise. Sheila opens the door and meets face to face with creepy rats. She runs away and gets lost in the basement. Sheila finds these 3 doors leading to the stage, but each door is hiding some danger. There are broken wires and a puddle of water on the floor behind the first door. There's a scorpion behind the second door waiting to bite Sheila. And there's a magical portal leading to the top of a mountain behind the third door. Can you help Sheila make the right choice? She should choose the first door. There's enough space. Sheila can crawl underneath the wires. Sheila enters the stage and spots 3 weird details in the auditorium. Can you see them too? Take a closer look at this lady. She's holding a book upside down. This musician is playing the violin without any strings. Also, there's a panda among the viewers. Sheila becomes a beauty queen. She gets a diamond tiara and a paycheck. She goes backstage, but suddenly, all lights in the building go out for a few seconds. When the lights turn on again, Sheila sees that someone has stolen her tiara. She questions 3 rivals. Zoe says, "I don't want your cheap tiara. My dad is a billionaire." Jasmine says, "Someone pushed me in the dark and scratched my dress." Rachel says, "You must have dropped it on the floor. Look better." Who stole the tiara? Zoe. It's hidden under her diamond necklace. The next day, Sheila wakes up in a creepy castle. A wicked witch turned her into a monkey. To break the black magic, Sheila needs to use a spell. But the spell book is locked in a box. The lock requires a 6-digit code. Can you help her open the box? There are exactly 6 candles on the shelf above the box. It's a hint. Each candle has a particular number of dots, so the code is 2436621. There are 4 big houses in Sheila's neighborhood. All 4 are standing in one row, and they have different colors: red,
green, white, and blue. Mrs. Jones's house is somewhere to the left of the green house. The third house in the row is white. Mrs. Snake owns a red house, and Mrs. Crystal doesn't live at either end of the row, but she lives somewhere to the right of the blue house. Meanwhile, Mrs. Dillon lives in the fourth house. And the first house isn't red. Can you decide who lives where and what the color of each person's house is? From the clues, we know that the first and the third houses can't be red. Mrs. Dillon lives in the fourth house. Therefore, Mrs. Snake, who owns the red house, can only live in the second. Since Mrs. Crystal doesn't live at either end, she must live in the third house, which is white. Mrs. Jones's house is somewhere to the left of the green house, which means that Mrs. Dillon lives in the fourth house. As for Mrs. Jones, she lives in the first house, and it's blue. Can you spot a fake teacher? The guy on the left isn't a real teacher, he's an actor. Take a closer look. There's a rec camera icon at the top of the screen. Two friends want to cross a river. The only way to get to the other side is by boat. But this boat can only take one person at a time. The boat cannot return on its own, and there are no ropes or any other similar tricks. Yet both guys managed to cross the river using the boat. How is that possible? The guys started on the opposite banks of the river. Josh and Bob are twins. Josh lives with his wife, and Bob lives alone. Can you guess which one is Josh? It's the first guy. He has a pair of toothbrushes in his bathroom, while Bob only has one. A time traveler is attending this party. Can you spot this person? This lady's shoes look too old-fashioned. Chuck enters a spooky building where he's supposed to have a job interview. Suddenly, someone locks the door, and now Chuck is trapped. He wanders around for a while and sees these 4 doors. He also finds a note. Only door 3 is leading to the job interview. The remaining doors will take you to the black hole. Good luck. Can you help Chuck choose the right door? No need for luck, Chuck. The symbols on the door are actually numbers. So, Chuck should enter this door. I talk to you, you talk to me. Every day, you hold me. Yet, I can't smell you. What am I? I'm your mobile phone. A gentleman and a lady are talking. The person with black hair says, I'm a gentleman. The person with blonde hair says, I'm a lady. At least one of them lied. Can you guess the hair color of each person? If only one of them lied, they would both be gentlemen or both be ladies. Therefore, they both lied. It means that the lady has black hair and the gentleman is blonde. Can you spot what's wrong in this picture? There's no milk in the jug. Can you see anything odd in this picture? The image in the mirror is not reflected. Can you spot a vampire? this guy over here. Fiona is a young witch. She finds these 4 portals in a haunted castle. Fiona chooses one of the portals and enters. You can hear city noises from the first portal. You can hear sea waves from the second portal. You can hear leaves rustling from the third portal. And bells are ringing from the fourth. Which portal did Fiona enter? Fiona's dirty footprints on the floor are leading to the third portal. Don't mind the different sounds, this could just be a magic trick. Billy finds himself on the roof of a skyscraper that is about to crumble. The only way out is to use one of these 4 elevators. There's a werewolf hiding behind the first elevator. If Billy chooses the second elevator, he'll fall hundreds of feet. Super venomous snakes are crawling all over the third elevator. And mutated scorpions are waiting for Billy inside the fourth elevator. Just one bite will make him fall asleep forever. Which way should Billy choose? The first one. Take a look at the sky. The moon is not full, so the werewolf is harmless. Rachel meets 3 of her former school friends in the parking lot. All 3 want to impress Rachel, so they begin to discuss their new cars. Melanie says, "I wanted my car to be one of a kind, so I bought this one." Peter says, "Since I'm a beginner, I purchased the cheapest used car." And finally, Samantha says, "I bought a large car because I have a big family." Rachel spots a liar right away. What about you? It's Samantha. Her car key doesn't match the logo on the car.
Uh-oh, someone stole expensive jewelry from Mrs. Doris's hotel room. It happened at around 6 a.m. When the police came, the hotel owner told them that there was a heavy snowfall early in the morning. It destroyed all the evidence. Suddenly, one of the police officers spotted an infamous criminal. He had been accused of committing several burglaries, but always managed to get away with it. The man denied being at the hotel at that time. "I only came a half hour ago," he claimed. The police officers immediately understood he was lying. How? There's a thick layer of snow on the criminal's car. If he had been driving to the hotel, there would be no snow on the hood. It would have melted or got blown away by the wind. And since it's sunny now, it can't be new snow. You are wandering through the forest, trying to find the way to a bus station. Suddenly, you meet a man. He tells you that soon you'll see a crossroads. There will be a post with several signboards. The right signboard will lie, and the left one will tell the truth. A bit later, you indeed see this post. The right sign on it says, "To the bus station," and the left one reads, "To the forest." Where is the station? If the right sign lies and the left sign will lead you back to the forest, go straight and you'll get to the station. Damien is an artist. Recently, he has had problems with money. That's why he had to sell the only valuable thing he had, an expensive painting of a 17th century artist. The man who bought it showed the canvas to his friend Matthew, a police detective. After looking at the picture carefully, Matthew asked for Damien's address. He visited the artist and asked him where he had gotten the painting from. The man said, "My granddad left it to me." "You're lying," the detective said. "You painted it yourself." How did he figure it out? There are electrical power lines in the picture, but they didn't exist in the 17th century. The police found out a diamond smuggler was going to leave the country through the largest airport in the city. They didn't know who it was and where this person was flying. That's why they searched the baggage of everyone who was departing on that day. Most people were angry and nervous, but one man was calm and polite. The airport security officers didn't find anything suspicious in his suitcase. But after the man got the sticker checked on his baggage, police asked him to come with him. They suspected he was the smuggler they were looking for. How did they understand it? While the security officer was putting the sticker on his suitcase, the man surreptitiously put his coat inside. The diamonds must be hidden in this coat. Mr. Carter, a rich man who collected antiques, asked Detective Morris to visit him. When the detective arrived, the collector said, "I've just got a precious statuette, but I need to go away on business for a week, and I'm afraid someone will break into my house. My neighbors are so suspicious." Of course, the statuette is insured, but still. Detective Morris had some other urgent things to do. He promised to come back in the evening to figure out how to deal with the situation. But when he arrived several hours later, Mr. Carter rushed to him. "I was away for an hour, no more. I drove my sister to the doctor, but when I came back, the statuette was gone." Detective Morris didn't believe the collector. Why? When he left the house in the afternoon, he noticed an apple lying in front of the left part of the gate. It's still there. But for a car to drive through, both parts of the gate have to be open. This means that Mr. Carter lied about leaving his home by car. A man with a bandage around his head came to a police station. "I was hitchhiking when the car stopped. The driver asked me to check if one of the tires was flat. I bent over to look, and he hit me on the head. When I came to my senses, I found out he had taken all my money and cell phone. I remember he had a big car, large eyebrows, and a mustache." The police had a suspect. They found him in a cafe. But the man said it couldn't be him. He changed the tires on his car 2 weeks ago, and since then, the car had been parked near the cafe. The detective realized the man was lying right away. How? There's a no parking sign near the cafe. No car could be staying there for 2 weeks. Mr. and Mrs. Williams had to go on a business trip. It was a sudden and urgent matter. They didn't have time to take the money they had to the bank. That's why they decided to hide it under the doormat. When they returned, the money was gone. 3 people visited the apartment while the owners were away. The Williams' neighbor, he helped them fix the TV. A housekeeper came to clean the apartment, and an electrician visited to deal with some lighting problems. Who took the money? It was the housekeeper. She was the only person who had any reason to look under the doormat. Laura took part in an experiment. She was locked in a room and had to crack a riddle to get out of it. On the table, she found a note with the numbers 11, 69, 96, and 88. The girl needed to figure out what they had in common. Can you do the same? All these numbers can be read in the same way if you position them upside down. A man on a motorbike crashed Mr. Ruby's store window, grabbed a dozen expensive watches, and drove away. When the police arrived, Mr. Ruby told them he was almost sure it had been his nephew, Patrick. The officers went to visit the guy. Because of a heavy downpour, they got there in only an hour. Patrick was at home, together with his friend. "Look at the weather! I haven't been outside since yesterday." Patrick's friend confirmed his words. But the police didn't believe this story and arrested Patrick. Why? The guy's helmet is hanging on his motorbike. If it had been there since the previous day, it would be filled with rainwater now. Look at these 2 girls and their fridges. One of them has never had enough money until recently. A month ago, she won the lottery. Which girl is that? It's the girl on the left. High heels, a flashy dress, and a fridge filled to the brim. She looks like a person who has finally managed to get their hands on big money. Look at these people lounging near a swimming pool. They all seem to be wealthy, but in fact only one of them is a millionaire. The girl sitting under the palm tree is wearing a lot of gold jewelry, but all this gold is fake. It leaves greenish marks on her body. The girl walking past the swimming pool is wearing sandals with a large logo on them, but the name of this brand is written wrong, so it's fake. The guy who's lying on the floating mattress is playing a game on his phone, but instead of an apple, there's a strawberry on his gadget. The man who's watering the plants is the millionaire we're looking for. There's a Mercedes keychain hanging out of his pocket. He also left a $100 tip for the waiter. Ethan and his girlfriend Anne went to explore a cave and got lost. After some time, they came across two people, a man and a woman. The man, bearded and rough-looking, had a shovel in his hands. "I've been stuck here for a week. I know how to get to the surface, but I need your help. Come with me." The young woman exclaimed, "Don't trust him. He's a criminal. Follow me. I've been here longer than him. I know where the exit is." Who should the guys believe? Ethan and Anne decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for more than a week, why does she look so tidy and has fresh flowers in her hair? Several gold bullion bars were stolen from a bank. The police figured out where they could be and who could take them. Without wasting time, they arrived at the main suspect's house. But since they were in a hurry, they forgot to bring a warrant. The man told them he wouldn't allow them to search his house. "Come back with a warrant and we'll talk." An hour later, the police officers came back with the needed document. They thoroughly searched the house and garden but didn't find the gold. Suddenly, one of the officers exclaimed, "I know where he hid the gold." Have you figured it out? The gold is in the swimming pool. When the police visited the man for the first time, the level of water in it was lower. A man shaves every day, but still has a long and thick beard. How is it possible? The man is a barber, and he shaves his clients. One day, a famous soccer coach went missing right from the locker room. The detective has 3 suspects, and all of them are from the coach's team. Brandon says that after training, he stayed on the pitch to practice a bit more. He hasn't been to the locker room yet. Andrew swears that straight after the training, he went outside to meet with his girlfriend. And James claims that when he was leaving the locker room, the trainer was still there. Who is the criminal? It's Andrew. He said he hadn't been to the locker room yet, but he's wearing not the uniform, but his street clothes. 5 people were asked to step over a pencil that was lying on the floor, but for some reason, none of them managed to do it. Have you figured out why? The pencil was placed near the wall.